Direct for you mother lovers out there. That's right. Back again. Something you might not never know nothing about. Welcome back, mother lovers. Myself, My Stiggy, your host, alongside my co-host right here, Dan DNA. What's going on, bruv?
Good, yeah.
AKA Dan Dolph. You shaking off the Rona. I remember you was a bit wounded.
Yeah. I felt all right, but it's just...
You're shedding.
Yeah, exactly.
Just getting rid of that
Do you know
old
what?
energy.
Do you know what I think it might be is that where my house is drying out, I think there's like a lot of mold spores flying around.
Yeah, you can breathe that in.
Yeah, when you look at the symptoms of mold toxicity, runny nose, sore throat, sore eyes, coughing, wheezing, you know, it's basically
So
just the same
familiar.
as if you've got,
It's so familiar for some
weird
odd
that you'd
reason.
have them at winter as well when it's the house is damp and you've got more mold and then you get cold.
Of all the things to happen, it's so weird, man.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth with some people about that, man. When I've been talking about, that it's like you shedding, that's you kind of getting rid of different toxins and whatnot. People are like, what are you smoking, bro? I'm like, what are you? Definitely not what you're smoking. You know what I mean? The shit I'm smoking has got me thinking on point, bruv. Like really looking into what is going on, not just like,
What you're smoking is a smoking gun. It leads to the truth. That's it.
Watch him now. AKA Dan Dolph, ladies and gentlemen. As always, man, we are glad to be here. Big up to the crew locked in already. Black Einstein, you know we love you. Sinead, big up your Moore. Liz Williams, Mr. Green. Yes, it's about to get busy tonight. King Chico, what's going on, brother? You know it's going to get busy tonight. When we get our brother back, man, this is like, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, we should do it. We should do a colossal show one time and get a few of our friends on so we can all exchange.
A round table.
Yeah, round table type thing. But
yeah,
you know for sure we got to get this guy on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to tonight. We're going to talk some old world stuff. You know what I mean? We're going to iron out some creases as well. There have been certain creases been put out there by certain people that shouldn't be, you know what I mean? It's not of our material. This is all about getting the truth out there, being honest. You know what I mean? Respect.
Yeah.
Things of that nature, man. Unless, you know, the whole vibe of this is like we have to lead by example at some stage, innit?
Mm-hmm.
And like if we don't do that, then people, they're not really going to learn. They're not going to understand. It's like, it doesn't matter what you do, but how you treat people is very important at the end of the day. So
be the change you want to see.
You know what I mean? See it there? So hopefully we can get Vinny to come on and iron out some creases as well as getting into some old world business. But of course, before we get into anything, we got to make sure you lot get the right amount of nutrition in there. It's important, whether it be your cannabinoids or your micronutrients. Let's get into the cmosboss.co.uk. And you know, as always, I got to have my music with me just to make this extra special for all of the ladies out there. That's right. It's me, the voice of chocolate velvet cake. If you slice the chocolate velvet cake, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it would sound like. And I want to tell you about a product, well, a bunch of products actually, and a producer of these products, the cmosboss.co.uk. They provide customers with the best Irish quality sea veg straight from the unspoiled coast of Donegal, also known as the Wild Atlantic Way. You can get yourself various different sea vegetables, from Irish moss to dulse to wakame to bladderwrack. Things of that nature, spirulina, if you will. whatever you decide, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it's going to be 100% quality. This is wild crafted. It's not farmed in the way that a lot of products are farmed, which don't allow the product to grow in a manner that it should, to become strong, and then provide you with that strength. Do you know what I mean? There are many different benefits when it comes to sea vegetables, but people know a lot about high iron, iodine, essential nutrients, you know, whether it be B vitamins, C vitamins, all kind of vitamins, mother lovers. Do your research. Don't believe me. You don't have to believe the hype. You know what I mean? Just make sure you do your research. If you feel like you got brittle bones, you know, your skin ain't glowing like it should, your hair don't grow like it's supposed to, you might need to sort yourself out with the right amount of nutrients. And things like sea moss can definitely do that for you. If you want to get your quality products of that nature, do hit up the seamossboss.co.uk. And when you get to the checkout, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you type in about 20. That's ABOUT 20. And you'll get yourself 20% off any order from the seamossboss.co.uk. That's me, Larry White, younger cousin first removed from Barry White. And I want to thank all the ladies out there on the sea moss. You reckon, Larry White? I could get away with that. I feel like I could do it with the music behind me. Might be able to work, D. Might be able to work. Hey, it's about that time, though, ladies and gents. I've been looking forward to this, man, because it's been a minute since we checked in with our brother from the Bronx. I've got to get the accent right. You know what I'm saying? I got to get my New York accent right. That's first of all. Vinny B, what's going on, brother? Let's get some fire emojis there, man.
Always fun. Always happy to see you, man. And
yes, likewise, King.
Yeah, I like hearing the UK accent. You know, I'm used to this one. I like hearing you too.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I always wonder, like, it must be kind of weird for you hearing that we're talking about the same type of stuff, but then you hear it with a different voice, different accent, like different slang as well.
Yeah, like the first time I heard rap, like a British rapper.
Yeah.
I think it was a guy named like A Spirit. I don't know if you know him, A Spirit, but yeah, it was like the first time I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" You know.
How long ago was that?
You too. It's like I like it. You know.
Wow. So is it like recent that you've been hearing UK accent rapping? It's not like you've heard it ages ago, or?
No, it was probably like 6-7 years ago.
Wow.
Spirit, but then hearing you too, and
yeah,
you know,
that's crazy.
Then there's an alternative band. What were they called? Block Party. The UK.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. You remind me of him, like, and he's got a great voice, you know. And it was the first time hearing, like, you know, alternative rock music with a British like accent for me, like that. I liked it. Block Party, they were called.
That's sick, man. Yeah, I've never even thought about it like that. That's true, man. It must be so different as well. But yeah, there's been, I mean, people over here rapping for quite some time, like since, you know, you could go back to even the mid-70s probably if you went into like the whole toasting, you know, reggae kind of vibe, which is where a lot of like the UK hip-hop scene, the originators sort of the scene came from. They came from that soundboy kind of, but they were chatting and rapping because it was like a bit of British accent mixed in with the Yardie type thing. And then when hip hop came over, you know, people who had family or whatever, they might stay over in New York in the late 70s, early 80s sort of thing. And then I think it came over early 80s, isn't it, really, where a lot more people would say it was a mixture of that than, you know, American style with the yard thing and then the English thing. So, you know, and then it's just grown and grown and grown. And now you've just got all these different genres. You got like the whole grime thing, you know, as well as the UK trap. Yeah. So just, you know that's a whole nother show, Vinny. We should even talk about that, the music world, like what it's turned into. But
growing up in the Bronx and New York, you know, it was big. It was, you know, a lot of history from it started there. And then you guys know me too with Killah Priest and Wu-Tang Clan from New York. So
yeah, definitely. So would you say you've seen that sort of? I think a lot more people now. You're seeing videos of people talking about how there is a dark side to the whole hip hop world, where it almost seems like it was birthed from that, and supposedly, you know, like in a way to just entrap like the youth into what a belief system, you know, of money, girls.
Yeah, I've been into that for a long time. You guys know, I've been doing shows like you're doing. I used to do shows like that about 12 years ago with a partner. I had a DNA Dan partner with me too, and we would, you know, one of the biggest things was always talking about the music industry. You know, I could talk about like, you know, politicians and this and that, and it didn't get the traffic, you know, and people weren't as interested as if I talked about like Lady Gaga or something like that. Then all of a sudden it was like, you know, you get a lot of views. So I did like to focus a lot on the music industry. I actually, later, if we screen share anything for your audience, when I told your audience last time, I have so many books on PDF. I convert them to PDF so you can just read them from an email or whatever, any device. I have one book, it's called The Convert War, where it's like about the CIA going against the rock and the rap. It gets into like, you know, a lot of these so-called suicides. Like my favorite one was the Jimi Hendrix one. You know, Jimi Hendrix is a big thing here in America for people who like rock. Yeah. And we're all told he overdosed, right? Like so many of them were told overdosed. But I got this great book, and if anybody even wants, I'd give it for free. You can look it up yourself. And it's been like the CIA has been after rock, rap, everything. You know, it's had its fingers in since the beginning. The book even goes into the early jukebox wars, they were called, where the mob was involved and all these people were involved, because it's powerful music, you know, and especially if you're reaching millions of people, you know, and for these control freaks, obviously, you know, they have to control that. Yeah. And, I would say that a lot of the people, though, I would say are probably just regular people, just like you're a regular person who raps. But the controllers are definitely, it's something dark and they want to use people. So if they find someone who's pushing something that they like let's say ignorance or violence or something like that, they're more than happy to promote that person, you know. Let's say, you know, Snoop Dogg is someone I like to bring up a lot. I mean, the guy's on commercial. He's doing like commercials and like insurance commercials, car shows. Like the guy is like treated like royalty, you know, which makes you wonder, you know, what are all the things he did for these people? So I would definitely say there is a very dark side, you know, and then you got Kanye, right? We talked about last time. He came out talking about the dark side. Yeah, there's definitely to it. Rap, rock, the mainstream country people, whoever. I mean, whatever type of music there is at the top is going to probably be a lot of dark influences around those people.
Yeah, I guess it's like that thing, innit? It's like the word entertainment. It's like any form of entertainment. There are going to be some, you know, if there's some form of influence there, then there are going to be people that are like, yo, we could do with some of that influence, you know what I mean? And so that's why, now even the weird thing about influencers now, we got that whole thing, innit?
Yeah, like Andrew Tate and these people, the social influence, right?
Yeah, social influences. That's crazy. And people accept it as well. Yeah, man, you should listen to this guy. Have you heard this guy? You should listen to him, man, because he's talking sense. It's like, it's crazy, man. But yeah, I guess, we should do that for another show, man. Get into some of the music side of it, because it has got very, very weird all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, it's gotten very dark, right? Like in your face. I feel like they're not hiding it as much anymore. Yeah, I think it was always there, but it had to be sort of like subliminal and hidden, because the majority of people would be like, whoa, this is like some demon stuff, right? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And but now, you know, now we're in the age of, I think, Lucifer here, and anything goes. You know, they're teaching the kids, you know, to change their sex in the schools. I mean, identify as a cat, whatever you want. I mean, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild what's going on.
Yeah, it is wild, man. You definitely got to look out for the kids, boy. I've had conversations with, like, you know, family, and they've talked about that, where 10-year-olds saying, like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Like, I don't know why I have to be involved in any, you know, and that's like, wow, at that age, that's the last thing you need to be thinking about, what sex you are, you know. It's like, yo, it's craziness, man. Craziness, bruv.
Yeah.
But, you know, speaking of craziness, man, I think we got to allow you, you know, lay the floor for you to stand on. You know what I mean? We saw some things happening. I had a conversation with someone who also watches the Killah Priest show, and we saw there was a bit of melee a few weeks back with yourself and a lady named Napah Shadar. Is that right?
Yeah.
You had a guest come on. You know, as people know, Vinny hooks up a lot of guests for various shows, one namely the Killah Priest podcast. And basically, you had John Ramirez coming up to do an interview, or, you know, to take part in the podcast. And then it all went a bit weird. It was like you usual, you know, come on to do your intro, like you should, but then it was a bit messy. Like, you were getting called Dracula and whatnot. I think a lot of people heard it as much as it was denied. But laid the floor for you to, like, you know, say your piece on what went down and why.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a pleasure to do it with you and your audience. Again, you're always very nice to me, and non-censorship, open to talk.
Always, man, always.
Yeah, I'd love to share it here. I didn't get to share a lot of it there because
you got cut off.
Yeah, I got cut off, and then I found out about the past 5-6 months. Napah Shadar has been basically editing and moderating for Killah Priest. So she's going around for the past 5-6 months, removing comments that anybody says about her. I didn't really know much about her. It was my man Tazadak, you know, Tazadak, the law expert, the Israelite brother. I brought him on a couple of times. So, you know, me and Killah, we used to be really close and we talk a lot. And in the beginning, it was exciting, you know, doing big shows, getting a lot of guests. But all of a sudden, it seemed like he basically was too busy for me for a while, which is fine. You know, we all get busy, and I know who he is, and I imagine he gets busy. So I didn't take it personal. But I come on with a show with Tazadak, and all of a sudden, this girl comes out and starts accusing him of treating, you know, having sex with this girl and treating her like crap and passing her around, and made all these really nasty accusations and was really nasty to him.
Well,
and then she ran away. This was on the pop.
Was this on the show? During the live stream?
Podcast. Yeah. Oh, wow. This was my first interaction, to let you know how I found out about her, and my first interaction with her. Jeez, was she came on, made this false claim, and then ran away. And I was actually surprised, you know, shout out to Tazadak, man, you know, for holding his composure and not disrespecting Killah Priest or anything. He let it be. But then after the show, people were trying to call her out. And I remember he hits me up the next day and he's like, yo, I don't know what's going on, but, you know, a lot of people are trying to say stuff and defend me, and they're all being removed, you know? And I'm like, well, Killah's never done that, you know? I don't think they're about censorship, you know? So I hit up Killah, and Killah's like, oh, yeah, you know, Napah, you know, women, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, but it's your show, you know? Like, what are you being a beta for, you know? Like, and I was just, like, surprised that he just basically, like, you know, blamed her. But that was my first interaction. Then the next time I did a show, she attacked Johnny Cerrucci, another one of my guests. So after the show, Taza tells me who she is and the whole thing with SYMNNKNA. And, you know, I didn't know all that about SYMNNKNA and how she was with SYMNNKNA. And I would love, and you should one day, you all go to Rumble and go to Taza thing. He made a video. After we did that show and she attacked him on Killah Priest, the next day he made a video called Napah, She's a Thought, right? And in the video, they show her like shaking her ass and doing all this stuff. And it's like really good because Taza he's so talented in many ways. And he makes music, great editing. And he did it in like one day. And yeah, so people want to see that. But so he sent that to me, and that's how I got to learn first about her and the whole SYMNNKNA thing. And so what is the
SYMNNKNA thing? Because for people who don't know, SYMNNKNA is another channel that it's a guy that hosts various different like debates between, you can say, different belief systems, I guess. You get like the sort of Israelites who might go at the Egyptians, sort of, you know, the you know, Hotep types, and then you've got Christians that go, you know, they go back and forth, but it will be like a platform where they can, he
like
allows
a podcraft.
that. Yeah.
Almost like Killah Priest and them and people do, right? Like a podcraft, a podcast or whatever.
Yeah. And so Napah was like a co-host or something like that. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it seems like they were hooking up. You know, from what I understood and what Taza and these people are saying is she got passed around the Israelite community. She, you know, banged a lot of those dudes. They just kept passing her around. Then when they were done with her, she went over to SYMNNKNA and was getting, you know, she was with SYMNNKNA.
Is that official or that's just rumors? Like, we don't want to put out stuff.
Well, no, I mean, Taza sent me, you know, the clip of him, of SYMNNKNA yelling at her, like, stop calling me your husband and this and that. And, you know, so she was trying to tell people she was married to him, but it wasn't a real marriage. It was just her trying to claim him in my understanding. Yeah. And then he was like, when he realized what she was and didn't want nothing to do with her. And from my understanding, what other people tell me is she was destroying his show. So SYMNNKNA got rid of her. Wow. And then I believe she basically shows up with Killah Priest is how I'm following this breadcrumb trail of Napah Shadat. So, you know, so like I said, my first interactions with her on the Killah Priest show weren't professional or anything I wanted to deal with, you know. And again, I don't judge people like that, where I don't care, you know, if Killah Priest is, you know, hooking up or doing whatever and he likes this girl, that's cool. You want to do shows with her, that's cool, you know. But if you want me to do something, I don't want nothing to do with her. And I let him know this. And for people who don't know that, because a lot of people are like, oh, you know, after that show, a lot of people like, you know, Vinny, you shouldn't have done it publicly. But maybe after this, you know, and other things, people understand. Like, I did try to do this privately. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to fight. I wanted everything to go good. The guy you mentioned, John Ramirez, I mean, to me, he's such a big name. Again, he grew up in the Bronx like me, you know. So again, you know, I love this guy because he's from my neighborhood, and he was this Puerto Rican guy talking about growing up, doing all these rituals and growing up worshiping the devil, and how he was this high priest, and amazing stories, amazing guy who then converts to being a Christian. So I was excited to do this show for like months. I've never done a show with John Ramirez, so I was extremely looking forward to this. And I kept telling Killah Priest about this. This is big. I mean, there's people who don't even have a big channel, and they'll just put like ex-Satanist John Ramirez, do a show, and it's like hundreds of thousands of views. You know, it's an interesting topic. It's a big name. It should have been a big show. So Killah, you know, basically the whole time is too busy. And I was just, again, trying to the benefit of the doubt. Let's just make it happen, you know. So basically the day comes of the show, and I'm like, Killah, you know, today got that big show. Just want you to be sure, you know, you're ready. Oh, I forgot. I got this other show booked with Ralph Ellis, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, you know, again, to me, that's not very professional. I know Mice Diggy wouldn't make that mistake. I know Bro Sanchez and other people wouldn't do things like that, especially when you got such a big name guest lined up like John Ramirez. and I've been harassing Killah Priest for weeks about this. Sending him the information, which he obviously never looked at because he still didn't even know the guy's name when he came on the show, like other guests that he's done. So I'm watching the whole Ralph Ellis thing, and they told me, so I'm like, Killah, what's going on? We got the show. Oh, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to end it early, and then, you're going to come on with John Ramirez. And I said, okay. So again, I'm still like wishful thinking, man, that he's not going to, they're going to do the show and Napah's going to leave.
Oh, so you're saying via text you're chatting to him and going back and forth, and then you're watching it live and thinking, okay, but she's there. Hopefully
she's going to leave. Yeah. Like I told Killah, because I told Killah, I'm not going to do this show with her. I'll go do this with Bro Sanchez. I'll go do other things. I don't want to deal with this, which should be my right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not being fake about it. I'm not being mean.
Yeah, you're being honest.
Again, do what you want with her when you don't have me coming on. You know what I'm saying? So, I was already like, frustrated. And then she doesn't leave the show. They don't even stop the show. And while I'm watching, like you brought up, she starts off with like calling me Dracula or vampire or whatever.
Yeah, there was clear. Yeah, we saw a video. Someone had uploaded a video about it, and we saw straight away. It was kind of like just before you were coming in. She's like, speaking of Dracula and dark energy or something like that. And then, so it's hard to say. I heard her saying that she didn't mention Dracula, but come on, man, it's blatantly there on video.
Everybody's seen it. Yeah. They all try to play stupid, but that's what cowards do instead of just manning up. And so, right away, I'm insulted. I've been lied to. So, again, I haven't even really watched it. I think I watched it back one time.
Yeah, you don't
But
know.
I think I was basically like, Napah, like, why is she here? You know what I mean? Like, she's supposed to go, Killah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Killah forced this to happen because he could have handled this with me the right way and professionally. And it shouldn't have to been me on the spot, being insulted and being lied to, and then like just go forward like everything's cool. You know what I mean? I'm not a fake person. I can't pretend. I don't act. This is me. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of passion. And I was very passionate about doing an awesome show with John Ramirez, so to me, it was like right there on the spot. I knew it was over. And I was like, this is not going to be good. I've been played, I've been lied to. And, she starts with the insults. Someone said she called me a narc. I have no idea what that is, why she would call me that. It's just straight up just calling me whatever, I don't think I have to defend things that are just made up.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know whether she meant a government narc or a narcissist. I weren't sure what one she meant.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I'm a loser, but then I'm a narc. I'm like I don't know what you're saying. I am. You're just a trash bag, and that was the. And to be honest with you, in 12 years of doing shows, I've never in my life have ever done something like that. I've never cursed. Like in shows, I've never gotten upset or yelled and like got mad at someone ever in 12 years of doing.
Yeah, you went off, bro.
And so it was, it sucked, man. And so, Killah, I feel like acted like a little beta and wasn't a man about it. He right away just, played dumb. He then threw me off the show, but then I she kept talking crap, so I came back on because I was so mad. I should have just let it be. But I came back on and was like, you lied about Tazadak. You slandered Tazadak. Have you apologized? That was one of the things I was trying to call her out on. Again, shout out Tazadak. And so I tried to go back at it so people didn't look at it like I just ran away. It was like, this isn't going to work out. We're going to be fighting, and they're going to clearly throw me off because that's Killah's booty right now, I guess. So, that's his spiritual wife or whatever now, like SYMNNKNA or something. So anyway, I just was done. And then they just went on like nothing. And Killah, He's never said anything since the show, and I have nothing to say to Killah. I said what I had to say to him in private, off the air stuff, and he had no response. So, you know, I now am just working with Bro Sanchez to do big shows. Shout out Bro Sanchez. You know, I really like Bro Sanchez a lot. And again, it's not, we don't agree on everything. Me and him were talking yesterday on the phone. I got big news for you in your audience too. I could drop 2 just yesterday.
What's that?
You know, yeah. So this guy, well, yeah. So me and Sanchez, you know, I brought Bart Sabrell on there. If people want to see Golden Wings Media. I did one with Jerry Meldology, and then I think about 2 weeks ago I brought Fritz Sprigmeyer, the author of Illuminati Bloodlines.
Jeez,
and
Vinny B, buddy.
So
that's crazy, man.
So you know, I'm starting to work with Bro Sanchez now. It's more professional. Again, we might not agree on everything, but just like with Killah Priest or you guys or anyone I work with, I'm not like the Vatican and the Inquisition people, the Jesuits. You know, everybody has their own beliefs, and I don't hate on people. I don't try to force people to convert. Like you mentioned in the beginning before I even got on, you know, leading by example, you know, things like that. So, you know, I respect his work, how hard he works. The guy's at it every day. So, you know, I've teamed up with Bro Sanchez.
Yeah.
And
Big up, Bro
so the
Sanchez.
next thing I really wanted to do is, I think you and your audience might have heard of this guy. His name is Eric Dollard. And I don't know if you guys know of him. With Eric Dollard, he was, I found out about him, I don't know, like 10 years ago, whenever that video was. It was basically, he was like sitting in the desert talking about the sun to some reporter. And he's like asking questions about the sun. And this guy worked for RCA, which was like, you know, the tops. It had the best equipment for studying the sun. It had to do with communications, radio, stuff like that, which is all based off of the sun's frequency. They have to know the sun's frequency so then they can do radio and communications and stuff. So literally this guy was working with the best equipment we have in America for the biggest company. So, you know, right away, I consider him an expert in these topics, you know? And when I heard him saying stuff that you don't hear mainstream talking about, I was blown away. And I'm sure people in the audience and people who have heard of him would agree and know what I'm talking about. So it's really hard. He's very busy. I mean, for people who don't know, if you were to look up Eric Dollard, he's not just an American, he's internationally known, like worldwide, he's internationally known as the leading expert in Tesla technology. So these are the guys like in their warehouses and their laboratories. I mean, they're doing these experiments. I actually brought his partner, Aaron, on Killah Priest's show one time. And Aaron Murakami, shout out to him. Aaron is a great guy. It was one of the best shows. To me, it was like my favorite. I thought Aaron did amazing. He literally was doing experiments and everything. They make the Rife machines and all this stuff. So
serious.
All the people that are into that stuff, they should know who these people are. You know, they every year there's an event where like the top scientists go to that are all into this Tesla technology and doing these experiments. Aaron's the guy who hosted the event and is involved with all of this. Wow. So yesterday Aaron called me back and he was like, Vinny, you know, Dollard's coming out. He's coming to my place because Aaron's got his own place too and does his own experiments and stuff. Amazing dude. People need to check out him. If you're into science, if you're into the Tesla stuff, if you're into electricity and how what the sun is and all that, definitely check out Eric Dollard, Aaron Murakami. And so yesterday, basically the good news is I set this up where Eric Dollard's going to come and do a show with me. And I'm going to do it on Bro Sanchez. Jeez. So, you know, I called Bro Sanchez and I was like, yo, Sanchez, we got I got Eric Dollard probably coming on in about 2 weeks, and he was just like blown away. He couldn't believe it, because he knows who Dollard is, and it's a huge thing,
Yeah.
And it's not even just Dollard. I'm getting the other scientists too, so it's like opening the door to like this whole thing that I was trying to do with Killah Priest, but unfortunately, I could speak freely now. I mean, he's not professional, and so it never went. I think Bro Sanchez is more professional, and I think him and his audience are going to love it. And maybe Bro Sanchez will actually show up to the event. I mean, Aaron gave me, Killah Priest, and a bunch of people free tickets, and they never even, talked about it or showed up. This is an event where you pay, over $1,000. It's a 3-day event with the top scientists doing experiments and showing off all the stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, in about 2 weeks now, I got this going on, my Stiggy. And
that's big, man. That's big, bro. Serious, right?
Yeah, so me and Sanchez are excited. I wanted to share that. That's actually, you're the first person to get that information probably live.
Exclusives. Yeah. Let me get my DJ clue on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's big, bruv, man. Yeah, I'm just looking him up. Eric P. Dollard, right?
Yep.
I've just got it on screen.
Yeah. Dan's got it on
so
screen.
all the people that, love science and all into the technology and all that stuff, I mean, this is top of the line to me and an honor to me, again, to be able to do this show in 2 weeks with Eric Dollard. I'm definitely going to harass both of them. I told Bro Sanchez this, because for people who know Bro Sanchez, or if you don't, he's a flat earther, a big flat earther like me. Yeah. And I did a show with Aaron before, and I picked, I poke at him with flat earth stuff. So, and he's cool about it. He don't get mad and flip out. So, I think it's going to be fun to maybe even bring up some certain flat earth questions to Eric Dollard.
Yeah.
But I never heard anybody ask him. I'd like to ask a few questions to Eric Dollard.
Yeah, it's interesting speaking to people like that are obviously they've been trained and they understand how the science works from, the mainstream point of view, but then have seen things that have made them realize that this isn't all, working towards, we're not all working towards the same goal here. So they've stepped outside of it. But then still, I guess it just seems like they're not open to any conversation to do with that, like the whole flat Earth, or maybe we're not on the ball, or are the measurements right?
It's funny, even Bart Sabrell, the guy who's saying the moon landing's fake and got punched by Buzz. I mean, even he doesn't really want to debate the flat Earth stuff, but everybody's different. And again, I'm not trying to be like the Jesuits or Inquisition people and convert or die with anybody. People should, make their own decision.
Lead by example. Yeah.
You're doing the right thing. Planting seeds, man. Plant the seed, and that's it.
Yeah. No, you're doing the right thing. Well, with that, I guess, it's sad to hear that things went down like that, but I think it's important that you get your side out of, the situation, because obviously people only see it from one point of view, and that's unfair to you because obviously, there are things there that you mentioned that people might not never have known nothing about. Wow, that rolled. That worked, didn't it? Yeah, they might not have known about and thought that you were just being extreme. I could see how people could see it as coming off as extreme, but as he said, you'd already sort of spoken about the situation and then felt like there was nothing really coming of that. So it was already like you feel disrespected, the double booking thing. I think the only things we could say is obviously Killah Priest is an MC. He's not, a podcast host as such. So maybe it's a bit hectic for him to sort it out in the right way, and then maybe under pressure because she's right there next to him. I don't know, but it's a shame, and I think you deserve a lot of respect because you brought quite a lot of information to people that might not have heard it before, especially through that platform. It's drawn a lot more people to that platform as well, And there have been various like really good conversations off of the back of the people that you brought together. You know what I mean? Like I've seen like when it's Lord Jamar and David Wise and, you know, like all these different people communicating and then sharing their thoughts on things, you know, and I think that's really important, man. So as long as you can get to do it anywhere you can, like you said, man, you know, Vinny's like the Lone Ranger, man. He hops from here to there, but he's just got this bag full of, you know, all these various different books that have got numbers on them and, you know, codes. And if he needs to get in touch with the right person. So I'm glad to hear that Bro Sanchez is on board with you as well, man. So yeah. I think that's a lot of big things to come, man. So, you know, the train keeps moving. The train keeps moving. Yeah, man.
I appreciate everything you're saying. And I agree, you know, I got to do a lot there. I definitely changed a lot. I mean, when I first showed up, it was all, you know, the Pan-African Kemetic guys. I think he had only like 24,000 subscribers. You know, I almost tripled their audience in the 1 year that I was there. They already had the show for 4 years. You know, I did a lot. All the big shows basically were all mine the past year. I know people. I didn't
even realize that as well. Is that when you broke it down? I was like, what?
Yeah, and I want to say something to defend myself too, because you know, some people like, oh, you know, she made the comment, oh, Vinny thinks it's his show. Again, people have no idea that Killah would constantly tell me to come on every show, and I didn't. And it's because it's not about me. It was never about me. It's never gonna be about me. I don't care. Like, I know, like, I'm not going to be allowed to anyway have big channels and things. I've been cut off. That's also why I hop around, like you mentioned, Diggy. But, you know, it could have been, a lot of the shows and everything, like I said, so many of them, I didn't even show up because I didn't want to just sit there just to be like, I did this, or, you know, I'm a part of it. Go to my page, send me money. It was never any of that. You know, there was a lot of shows that people have no idea that it was the guests were there because I set it up. I just never showed up.
Yeah.
And I never got credit for the majority of things I did there. And because I'm trying to be a humble Christian, I never got mad and like made them like, you better give me credit. I need this. I need money. I need you to promote me. It was never that. I honestly, sincerely want the truth out there. I want to help people. I want people to wake up. I'm tired of people being hurt by these lies, by these demons in charge. And that's the motivation. And I did, like when I first showed up, nobody even knew what a Jesuit was. You know what I mean? And then months later, Killah Priest makes a rap song and he's talking about the Jesuits. You know, people now over a year later, they see my face. They're like, hey, the Jesuit guy, the Jesuits. And now everybody, basically, the Jesuits are like a common term. You know, when I first showed up there, I was bringing up Tartaria, mud flood, all these things, you know, and I did the best I could to bring the best experts and do these big shows. And a lot of times I didn't show up because, you know, I wasn't trying to make it my show. You know what I mean? Just like Mike Stiggy, I love Mike Stiggy and respect him. In no way do I want to make this my show. It's just I want to help Mike Stiggy. And if he asks me to, I'll do whatever, you know?
No,
so
love, bro,
that's what all it was, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's what definitely, you know, and to add to that is like the fact that I didn't know, like people, I don't think people really knew that you were the reason that so many of the guests, when, like after you mentioned it, then I went and looked back at the guests and I was like, oh, right. Yeah, this is when it actually started. Like the fact that I got into it is like there was something that went on and it was actually to do with one of your guests. Why the argument, I think with with Russell, and then it was, you know, those days were interesting, man, because there's obviously like this weird sort of communication thing between you and Russell, whenever you had guests on, and they were like, "Oh man, he about to bring some pseudo." Yeah.
You know, Razul's the first one who started that Dracula thing. That's where it comes from. Actually, was Razul, and that's why so many people there. Because again, I've never been called that anywhere else in my life except for on that podcast, and it started with Razul. Yeah. What's funny though is me and Razul are friends. Razul doesn't work with Killah Priest anymore. Razul keeps telling me to come on his show. He keeps wanting me to go on his show and work with him.
Yeah, man, you should, bruv.
I do. And that's what I tell people. Like, people seem, because we'd always fight. Yeah. And Killah, I think, would hype it up. And Killah would tell me sometimes, man, you know, Razul was going crazy the whole ride home, ranting about you and this and that. You're crazy. And I'm just like, good, you know, good.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
So, you know, people think that we hated each other because we fought a lot. But I always respected him because he's a real dude, you know. And I don't expect people just to believe what I say, you know, especially when I say so many crazy things that people never heard.
You can't come on here and talk like you can't come and Killah Priest crap. It's like, yo, my man would just start switching on him like drink and take a little sip of.
I think I won him over with Aaron Murakami actually when I did the big science one and we were doing the science experiments and he was like, "Yo, Vinny, this was real. This. All right, you know, I asked for it and you gave me what I had." I said, "All right, you know." But you know, me and Razul, he's another one. He's like, "Man, you know, you got me with the Jesuits. Now I see it everywhere." And, you know, and now again, now you're not listening to Darwin and all that stupid stuff you were talking about to me, man. Like, you know, do your own thinking. You know,
it's hard for people, man.
I don't want anybody to think like me. I actually want people to think for themselves because then maybe they could teach me something I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's hard for people though. You know, like it's just that barrier of like understanding that. All right, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I am. You know what I mean? And just break through that, and then you start looking, and then you start realizing like, oh shit, this don't. It feels like it never ends, Vinny. It feels like this labyrinth of truth. You know, it's like every other day I'm finding out something else where I'm like, I didn't realize they'd gone to that. Like just the other day, I saw this thing about to do with airplanes, and they were talking about the fuel. Like, where do they keep the fuel? Apparently, they keep it in the wings. Is that right? Like, they keep it in the wings. But then, there was this whole thing about balancing with it and how much it would take how long it would take to pump the oil in there, you know, the fuel in there, as well as how much space you'd actually need for that amount of, you know, all these things where you're like, yo, I never thought about that. And, you know what I mean? And then
there's a lot. Yeah, there's so much. You're right. Man. Yeah. It's like never ends.
Yeah, so I think it is hard for people in that sense because maybe they realize that that's what it might take, is that you're in this never-ending labyrinth of finding out, you know, if you can be bothered, I guess. Not everyone can be bothered. That's probably the other thing.
Yeah, maybe
let's be honest.
Most, but true. Like when at some point people should have to, like for us who went down the rabbit hole, right, and look into this stuff. And I mean, at some point you have to do what I said I did a long time ago, which is say everything that we're told is a lie, and you have to start over. And you know, I did it a long time ago, so I think that's why I've just been a little bit in front of the curve on some of the issues. You know, it's not like I feel I'm special or have magic powers or anything, or I'm, you know, anything like that. It's just, this is all I've done. You know, I threw everything out the window back in like 2005 or 6, you know, and it was like, all right, just start over, you know, and then it still took for a long time to get through stuff. And, you know, and like you said, even after all this time, almost 20 years, right, for me, I'm still finding out new stuff. There's still something you and Dan could teach me today. There's still something tomorrow that, you know, I'll see on YouTube or something and be like, oh, I didn't know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Sure. And another rabbit hole or something, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've always tried to make it like, it's not about me. It's not about being an expert. It's not about, you know, you have to know everything and you can't make a mistake. It's just asking the questions. So others and all of us could start thinking and talking about at least this conversation, just bringing it to the table, like I did with the Jesuits or whatever else, and now it's the old world, the Tartaria, if you want to get into a little, right?
Yeah.
Segment into.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because it's been very, I'd say like the theme has seemed to gone into that direction quite heavily when I'm looking at stuff. People talking about, obviously, I think last year was where it was really heavy on the whole Tartaria, and the year before. But then now people are going into more of an old world, like almost like they're trying to go further back than the Tartaria thing. And then, so you know, there are these ideas that have been floating around from, like the Finnish being Phoenician, there's some link there. And then, what else there? Just like a lot of other things to do with certain areas around the world not being exactly what they were painted out to be, in our modern day.
You remember the show I did with Kamiru. He's another great example.
Yeah.
For people who don't know him, I tried to bring him on Killah Priest, and that didn't go.
Oh man, that was my days. I thought, that was a mess, man.
That was really bad.
Bruv, I forgot about that. That was a mess. So even after that, you actually managed to work things out. Like after that
I did, but then, it still like never really got worked out. And to this day, Kamiru feels, insulted and isn't cool with Killah Priest.
Yeah.
He got mad at me a few times, but it is what it is. I had good intentions, and it was to get the thing out there. And then, like you said, it didn't work with Kamiru, but then I was able to get him Dane Calloway, and that's when I was like, yo, then
jeez, man.
I hate to bring up race and stuff, but I like just being real and stuff. Like, it felt like Kamiru was he's considered white, and I was considered white, and a lot of that audience and people didn't like hearing that information from.
I saw that.
So I was like, again, I don't even take it personal. Like, I'm so beyond all this stuff. I'm being honest. So I'm just like, listen, that's why you need to get Dane Calloway. But Dane Calloway won't talk to me because I'm a paleface. And he keeps so I found out Lord Jamal was his friend. So I told Killah, I said, Killah, talk to Lord Jamal. Look, Lord Jamal got Dane Calloway's contact. And that's how he was able to get Dane Calloway. So again, at least some of that information got out there. I personally think Kamiru is way better than Dane Calloway, my opinion. I do think Dane is a little bit racist in ways, but that doesn't take away from his research, in my opinion. And I'll still promote his stuff because I think he's exposing a really important secrets they're hiding. And like you said, Kamiru. I'd rather talk about Kamiru because I think he's done more work on the stuff too. Is tying in how America actually having more proof that Egypt is actually over here and not in that sand in Africa. That area that they tell us.
Say that again, Vinny, because
Rome is where Italy is now, and this and that, and again, it's crazy for a lot of people at first. And that's
bring it
why,
back. Say that again. Drop that again, Vinny, just in case people didn't get what you're saying there.
Okay, so a lot of the things that they keep telling us is out in Europe, where you guys are from. Actually, it looks like there's a lot of evidence that it was actually here. Which again, it's funny because I always talk about the opposite, these people, and they talk about this is the new world. Well, maybe this was the old world. And the old world, Babylon and Egypt, that they keep trying to tell us is out in Africa. Kamiru, and he's not the only one. There's lots of people. I just like to mention Kamiru because I think he's done the best work, and I've worked with him. But I looked into this before Kamiru, and there's a lot of evidence. Like, my favorite one is Utah. Right? We have a state called Utah in America. Well, if you put a J in front of Utah, what do you have? You have Jutah. Right? And when you start looking into the history of Utah, there's like all these biblical names and mountains and this and that are right there. Like literally, we have it's called I think it's a national park. It's called like Zion. It's called, National Park Zion.
Zion National Park.
Utah. Mount Nebo. Mount Nebo is a biblical city for and it's in Utah. You got a lot of evidence that there was all these Egyptian relics there that it seems like the Mormons and them, when they went there, stole, and they're covering up all the Egyptian relics. Kamiru, I learned from, so I got to give him the credit, is, you know how we see the Egyptian and it's got the dog head, right? Anubis.
Yeah.
That's a specific dog. And that dog's not in Africa. They try to show us one and say, this is like it, but that's not really, it don't look the same. But that dog is in South America, right? And then to me, one of the biggest things is corn. Corn is a dead giveaway to me too. Yeah. Corn, everybody knows, comes from America.
Yeah, it originates in America.
And what's funny to me is Masons, and anyone who knows Masonry, you're just doing Egyptian rituals.
Dan.
And they're doing this Jewish Egyptian rituals. They use corn. They use corn and oil. So corn from here, you know what I'm saying? Like the breadbasket of the world where we were told Egypt was, well, now we're told it's here, right? Where all the corn and all this stuff's coming from, the breadbasket. Well, is this actually where ancient Egypt really was? And, I right away start looking into what we're told, the official stories that a lot of people want to believe in. And right away, it's a Jesuit priest. Like one of my favorites is Chicago, Illinois. So if you look into the early history of Illinois, they called it Little Egypt or Lower Egypt. And they mark it off as this Jesuit priest came in the 1800s and was like, oh yeah, this reminds me of, the biblical story of Egypt. So I'm going to name this, Egypt. Now that's what people want to accept the official story. That's fine. Do that if you want. I don't. Doesn't make any sense. What does make sense is maybe this was called that and they're trying to hide that fact. So this is what I mean. These are some of the crazy topics. And I know it sounds crazy at first, but then another thing was like when I started reading Christopher Columbus and Magellan and these guys in the 1500s, they're clearly talking about the stuff in Europe doesn't line up, and they're not convinced that those are the biblical places. So, there's so much evidence. There's lots of books, lots of different people that have brought up this topic. And I'd say that's one of the big topics, one of the crazy conspiracy theories I've been trying to talk about for the past, I'd say about 5 years. I think Kamiru, and there's a new guy, 432 Drop Radio, I think doing a great job. If people want to look into this information. But, I found out that a lot of these Native Americans, the Cherokee, spoke Hebrew. Like they basically, it's the same language. So a lot of these
Paleo Hebrew, is that right?
Paleo Hebrew. Yeah. Then I found out that Florida, there was a Native American tribe. They're called the Creek Indians, and we're taught about these Creek Indians down in Florida. Well, if you change the C to a G, you got the Greeks, right? and when you start looking into them, guess what language that they speak? They speak Greek. The Creek Indians speak a Paleo-Greek language. So if you speak Greek, you would actually be able to communicate no problem with the Creek Indians in Florida. This is what I mean. There's a lot of stuff.
Wow.
I can't do it justice in just a few words, and you know what I mean? So for people that are open-minded and want to check this stuff out, I would recommend Kamiru 432 Drop Radio. I see so many people now that are calling America Egypt.
Yeah, as a UBTV
Yeah,
as well.
UBTV.
He's really
he
good,
does
man.
great work, I think.
Yeah, he does really. He's got like a whole series on America as Egypt.
Yeah, it's a newer guy who I think, again, it's good to see the new because maybe, it's updated from videos from 5 years ago. So, yeah, I would definitely, I've seen some of his stuff and I think he does great work. And again, it's, it's all of us together, Why does there have to be a leader? Nobody, there doesn't, it's so many great people that are looking into it. And that's why I do this stuff, that's why even when I first went on Killah Priest, that was one of the first things I was bringing up, man. I was like, yo, we need to talk about this and that. We need, talk about these buildings. They didn't build these buildings, man. Why are they buried?
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, that's the, I think that's a very important subject because it kind of helps us understand a bit more what is truth and what isn't in terms of what we've been told. You know what I mean? Like, so... Yeah. Obviously, looking into more of that stuff in terms of the old world idea, we've been looking at like you said, the whole idea of who was actually where at what point in terms of years, and how things have been dated, where they were from, and even that whole where they were from thing. It doesn't actually mean they were from where we think.
Exactly.
Like you've been saying. So things are being rearranged to that point. You know what I mean? There's talk about like places like Ireland where I believe I heard that it went to court and everything and they got it, it was approved that there were certain people that were of lineage from Egypt, from like some royalty from Egypt or something like that. And so there were, these tombs that are there, pyramids built there. And so it's like, okay, where were these places really? So there are people that talk about that was possibly ancient Chaldea and not necessarily in the Middle East,
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I agree with you. And the other thing that I think that I want to point out, I want to make sure I point out, because I think this is another big mind block they put on all of us. Just like, shoving a globe in people's faces so you can't, but the whole thing, they've programmed us again to think that our ancestors were stupid and that we've slowly over time from primitive caveman, until just now we're figuring out everything, Nikola Tesla and these guys finally figured out electricity and, they finally figured out how to fly and our ancestors were stupid, right? And they want us to believe that, Columbus discovering America and, until 1492, nobody from Europe knew about America. When I pointed out, I think it was even on your show, I pointed it out because someone was like, man, I never heard of that until I heard you say that. Never thought about it. You could see Russia and Alaska could see each other. You could be looking at each other. So people, again, snap out of it. What makes you think that people didn't know about other people? Like people weren't traveling around.
Yeah.
They put us in this box to where it's like people think that up until 500 years ago, Europe and America had no knowing of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that we needed these people in Europe to, enlighten the whole world and Renaissance and now, bring the whole world together. But clearly in the past, our ancestors were not stupid. So let's get into the old world, like these buildings and things that we're not even seeing them built to this day. Some of these buildings, if we want to pull up images or whatever, I mean, they don't build that now. So our ancestors, there clearly was an advanced race or multiple, for all we know, in the past. To me, I even told you the last time too in your audience, like I've been pointing out, these people didn't build any of this. Europeans, like my family being Italian, my mom's side came over like in 1910. My dad's side a little later. But they were all like farmers. Everybody was like peasants. They didn't have a power drill. There was no electric power drill until like 1895 in America, right? These people are going around in horse and buggy, peasant farmers. And then you want to tell me that the history is that these people built up all these cities in like 10 years. They go in this city and within 10 years, every single ridiculous cathedral and building you see and all the streets, everything, the underground, all these things are built within just a few years. And again, for people who want to do the research, look into this stuff and you're going to see it doesn't make any sense. I seen one the other day, this ridiculous structure. They say it was built in 1 year. They give credit to this builder. You look into it, the guy was 14 years old when they say it was built. So again, if you think some 14-year-old who, you know, his first building project in 1 year builds a ridiculous structure like that, you know, I don't know, you know, then put on a mask and listen to these people, you know. But there clearly was an advanced old world.
All right. And so what areas would we look at? Is it like places like are these all around the world, these sort of buildings?
All around the world. Because this was a one world already. This would, you know, I even did this with an archaeologist, Jonathan Gray, who wrote so many books, Dead Man's Secrets being one of my favorite ones. And again, he pointed out that the archaeology proves there was an advanced civilization. And when we were doing the show, I was obsessed with Zeus and these people at the time. And I was like, listen, you know, I've been dying to talk to an archaeologist about this. Is there any evidence? Because they keep telling us that these are all made up stories, right? Our ancestors were stupid, just making up these stories for us. And he was like, oh, no, yeah, there's lots of proof that Zeus was real. And we got this and Hercules. And yeah, these people were really here. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. That's what I thought. And then I started looking in and finding more and more evidence, you know, and you know, to get into this stuff for you and your audience. And we were talking about like correcting things, right? Let's bring in the word Tartaria now. I stayed away from it. Now I'm going to bring that word in, right? Tartaria is the other big thing that you see everywhere now. Yeah. And I was someone telling people years ago, you know, let's talk about Tartaria, but I didn't know that they were going to get combined here with the mud flood stuff. But to me, people need to understand that I think that's part of like the misinformation that's going on. So a lot of these channels are actually getting big and they don't mind promoting it because people are tying in these old world buildings with the Tartarians. And let me explain this to everybody. The Tartarians did not build these buildings because they are everywhere. They are buried. Mostly, most of these things are buried, right? They're worldwide, like you said. It's not just one location. It's all over the world. And the Tartarians, if you really want to get into it, they were recent, just like our ancestors. They were just a few hundred years ago. They were horse and buggy people. They weren't going around with horse and buggy, building ridiculous stone cities and building pyramids and putting gargoyles and Zeus's face all over everything. They didn't do that. So everybody should stop saying it's Tartarian old world. The Tartarian thing we can get into on another day or another. I'll save that for another time for you because I've done the research for that. People need to study the flamenco, read the flamenco books. I have all 21 I can give away for free if anybody wants. Those Russians, the flamenco, that's with the whole 1,000 years added in and all that comes from these guys.
Yeah, which kind of correlates with something Dan pointed out a while ago about with Egypt. There's something to do with Egypt as well. The way that they date things is they kind of add on a certain amount of time.
There's who's the guy called something Rowe? What's his name? Oh, he does the Egypt stuff anyway. He does like the missing 1,000 years thing.
Yeah. What's his name? A similar thing then. That's he's a Russian guy now.
No, I think he's American or something. His name.
He comes from flamenco and these
guys. And then there was some researchers in the 50s, I think there was 4 people that done a book where they found this sort of 600 years that's been put into Egyptian history. So you get all these repeating pharaohs. You get like Ramesses, and then 600 years later you get another Ramesses. And so they basically just added this 600 years in the middle of the time.
And I agree. And to me, again, this is the Jesuits, and this is recently in the 1800s. Chronology that we're taught in all our schools and what's accepted worldwide, meaning China and everybody has the same people telling them what history is, and that's the Catholic Church, and it comes from a guy named Joseph Scaliger, right? And this is again a Jesuit who basically did what I think Dan said, where they were trying to create all of history and these timelines and tie it all together, and they just started adding in these phantom years, and it seems like they added in 1,000 years. It's not so like straight across the board like that, like it's just 1,000 years in every situation. You know, they point out like, you know, maybe with the Muslims in this area, it could be an 800-year difference, or it could be this, you know. But it's basically they started trying to stretch out the timeline, right? And you know, there's theories on that. I have mine on that, but you know, they definitely seem to be stretching it out, which I think, again, is to push their evolution and get us so far away from reality. And you, again, to think that your ancestors were stupid. All this stuff was really long ago. You know, it's 2,000 years. People are still waiting for Jesus. You know, what are you doing with that? You know, it's all these things to throw us off. If the chronology itself is thrown off for all the countries, which it seems like the Jesuits did, in my opinion, then again, you can't go by the mainstream history. You have to start looking into things yourself. And you know, I think that's what a lot of people are doing, including myself. And to me, the Tartarians, again, are a newer people. They were still a country up until 1775, in my opinion. Again, I think you guys could find the answers with the flamenco books. That's where I got most of my information and thoughts on this. It seems like 1775, the Tartarians were destroyed, and you have the Catholic Church puts in the Romanovs, who again, bloodline relatives like to the Emperor of, you know, Germany and you know, in England and everywhere, right? These are all like these families. Yeah. And they put the Romanovs in charge, and they were there to destroy Tartarian history. There is also facts that in America, there's a declassified document in the 50s from the CIA where they talk about the erasing of Tartarian history. So, you know, I see it's easy for people to right away, they hear the word Tartarian, they realize that this was it was the biggest empire. You know, if you look at maps from the 1700s, it's clearly the biggest empire. You know, way bigger than Russia is now. It was really big, right? So I think they right away are like, okay, the old world were these people, and they got erased. You know, and now in like the 1800s, and now they're stealing all this Tartarian stuff. And I'm sorry, but that's not what happened. This stuff is older than that, and it wasn't by people that are horse and buggy with no technology. This stuff was done by the gods, in my opinion. This was done in the old world. There was an old world, like Atlantis, and all that was real. And they're all telling the same story. They want us to think our ancestors were stupid. Our ancestors were not stupid. They're all telling the same story about a flood, about dragons, about the old world, all this stuff. And these gods, right, that taught man how to do stuff. And to me, clearly, these structures are amazing. They're like the most beautiful things. Like, it's breathtaking, so many of these things. A lot of people point out it looks like they were made for giants. A lot of these structures don't make sense that they would be built for 5-6 foot people. You know, the giants, all these things that they want us to think are made up stories from our stupid ancestors were clearly the truth. And I don't claim to know everything, but I do believe that there's something to this, especially when everywhere I look, from Mexico to India to Europe to Africa, Australia, the Hopi Indians coming out of the Grand Canyon, they're all telling the same story. You know, they just have their different languages because everybody spoke different languages. Why? Well, the Bible says Babylon, right? And God curses Babylon and scatters everyone, and people start speaking different languages. Because why? Because there was this race that was building a one world. They had a one world in the past, and maybe multiple. You know, I know at least one, and archaeologists also know, like Jonathan Gray and others have told me, there was a migration in the past. There was a one world civilization in the past. And I think that's why I've told you and Killah Priest, the people, is that's why they hijacked that with the aliens. They're trying so hard for the past, I don't know, 12 years or whatever, with ancient aliens and all these things to look at these beautiful, ridiculous things that we have no idea. We can't explain it away. Had to be aliens. Came from Orion's belt, whatever. Because they don't want you to know that this literally was here already from people that lived here already. And, we're literally built on top of this stuff. And that's why I think there actually might have been like two great civilizations. I think there was the super golden one that we're taught about in Greek mythology with the story of Atlantis and the Aztec, everybody talking about the feathered serpent god and all these gods. And in the Bible, they're called the fallen angels, right? Everybody's telling the same story. Even the Bible's talking about this. And that these angels come, and these are the gods. And Lucifer being the main general, right? He's the main general, but there were other ones too, right? And in Greek mythology, you got Zeus, you got Poseidon, you got Hades, right? Poseidon was over Atlantis. He goes to war with Zeus. I mean, the symbols, the snake and the eagle, this is Zeus and Poseidon. It's the same symbols. It's the same stories. They talk about, these gods, so fallen angels, intermixing with man and creating offsprings that are giants. Right away, I think of the liger. You mix a tiger and a lion, and you got this super giant thing, right?
Liger.
Why couldn't it have been that? These giants, fallen angels, whatever, mixing with man, and then you have this offspring that is a giant, and that's where you get the titans and all this stuff. I mean, I just don't think that our ancestors made up all the same stories. And again, it would make sense that that's what all these structures are, that there was an old world that got destroyed, and they don't want you to know about that. So the Catholic churches have been going around destroying everything and saying that they created everything and they founded, right? Didn't build. They founded. Yeah, they founded this thing and renovated it. And then I started thinking too, the Americans, right? For Americans, we're taught about the founding fathers.
Yeah.
Start to make sense now? Yeah. The founding fathers. Yeah, they would go around finding what was already there. They were setting up shop here, with the Catholic Church and the European powers. It's like these families and stuff were setting up shop. You know what I mean? And but this stuff was already here. And to me, it wasn't Tartarians. It wasn't, any of these people were being told, like, the English in the 1300s built, this. I just don't buy it. This is the old world. And that's why so many of these things, when you start looking into it, they go so far down into the ground. I mean, on average, it's 15 to 20 feet or meters or whatever that go down. That seems to be covered in what they call mud or whatever. But there's some that goes down way more than that. And we're literally just like, we're taught like, there's the iceberg and you just see the peak of it coming out the water. I mean, that's almost what it is for us, man, is these structures go so far down. You could see them in a lot of them. They'll call them catacombs and caves, right? But it's really just these underground, buried, melted. Sorry if Jerry's listening. melted buildings, and they go way down. And there's no reason to believe that our farming peasant ancestors would have built buildings underground and buried them and did all this stuff when they were all struggling to survive. So and that's all I see in the recent history was a lot of people struggling in the 1800s. I don't know how they built up all these cities.
Yeah, that's interesting. The buildings. We'll have to pull up some of the architecture as well, so people can see what you're talking about. But I want to know this, like, so if people put it to you like this, all right, so are you saying that there were these beings that were, sort of almighty, they were looked at as gods and whatnot, but then somehow they died out, or has the whole thing sort of evolved where they're still in control, but behind the scenes? Like, what do you think has gone on then?
All right, great question. Yeah, I do think these were superior beings intellectually, physically. I think the environment was different. So that's why you had all these giants. They want to talk about dinosaurs or whatever, but it wasn't that. It was giants. We got fossils of dragonflies that were 6 foot, and now they're like this big. Things were bigger in the past. So the whole environment, whether it's, extra oxygen or whatever it was, the past, it was totally different. And these beings lived long times. They probably could just run from Chicago to New York without getting tired. Like it was probably that crazy, like the beginning and these beings in the beginning, and giants, and they built superior stuff, and they built up a one world system, which then we're told in all these stories that God gets angry and destroys them.
Right. And
he sends the flood. And to me, that's the first major catastrophe is the flood. And there's tons of evidence, lots of archaeologists and people showing this stuff of the flood. So all the cultures, again, not just the Bible, every culture talks about it, about being a giant flood. I think in China, they built these like star forts and stuff like that. It wasn't a boat, but a lot of the natives in them do talk about a guy building a boat and this and that. The name is almost like Noah. So, some is a little bit off, but it's basically the same story about this flood, which kills the majority. And the Bible also says that a majority of the giants were killed off, but they say that some did survive. There were some survivors. Even the Bible says that. And the environment changes, and people weren't allowed to be that big anymore, didn't get to live that long of a life anymore. And I think that there might be something too where these families at least believe they come from are descendants of these gods. That's why I've even tried to talk to Fritz about it. But again, we don't know because we really can't go that far back, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Yeah. I
mean, all I can go back is like my grandmother and her generation, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is funny. I don't know if I told you, I recently talked to my 96-year-old, my mom's uncle.
Yeah.
And he said that he remembers the orphan trains.
Oh, wow.
He didn't remember other stuff, but he was like, oh, yeah, I remember the orphan trains. He said, yeah, it went on for a little while. He said they were using them as slave labor for all the farmers. He said once all the farmers had enough slave labor, then the orphan train stopped. That's what my 96-year-old family member told me.
So that's the orphan trains. Was that from Europe over to America or something like that?
I asked him, and he said he didn't know. And even after like a whole thing came out, he said, I think in like the 30s or the 40s, where the Catholic Church getting in trouble, and them not knowing, nobody could actually say literally where these children were coming from. They don't know if the Catholic Church stole them from someone, maybe Tartarians, or or they were like stealing them from Americans, saying, you know, you're in wedlock or you can't afford it, so we're taking your child. So there's still mixed. I still can't find the bottom of it.
Yeah, that's some creepy business right there, man. Creepy business.
Yeah, the incubator babies.
Yeah, the whole Cabbage Patch Kids, right?
You know, that's what I mean. It definitely seemed like something recently to happen in like the 1800s, and to me, it seems like it was a Jesuit takeover of America. But you know, to stick with the old world stuff again, I mean, this stuff is everywhere. So out in England, anybody listening anywhere, you could literally just find this stuff, man. You could just go to your big cities, look up, you know.
So all the sort of town halls, cathedrals.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, man. I went to this town. I got pictures from Milwaukee, Wisconsin in America, which is funny because in the 1800s I found books where they were saying that this was Atlantis and Egypt, ancient Egypt and Atlantis was actually Wisconsin and Chicago and like the middle of America. Wow. And it's weird because there's places here where it's like sand. It's all flat land. And all the trees out here, none of them are older than 100 years old. Mm. They say that they clear cut everything 100 years ago. I don't know. But it seems like some got destroyed here not that long ago. And that all this stuff is kind of new. And it's weird, like, again, like you're looking in the woods and there's sand everywhere. And it's like, why is there sand in the middle of America? And, you know, clearly there's something else here.
Okay. That is crazy. And there's this whole thing about the Nile and Mississippi River being...
Yeah, which, you know, because the original meaning of the Nile meant the Great River. And in America... the natives would call the what we now call Mississippi used to be called the Great River. Oh, and it's funny because I even found Columbus and some of the explorers in the 1500s also pointed out they thought that was the actual like a real Nile River. They were blown away by what they saw out in South America and America. Which again proves that they weren't convinced that those are the actual places out in Europe.
Out in the Middle East and whatnot.
Yeah, you know, we find Roman artifacts and stuff all over Florida and all over America. Roman coins, this and that. You got St. Augustine, Florida, and these places, and you know they got their cover story, the church that, I guess again. It doesn't make sense to me if you're about Jesus that you come and you're naming him after these Roman and this and that, but you know, it doesn't really make much sense. But that's the official story, that everything here is named after the real places out there. But I don't know, man. Deep down, I think that there's more evidence that Babylon and ancient Israel and all that was here, Rome.
Oh, for real, Israel as well. And so Greece, what was it? So I believe, is it the Fertile Crescent was actually, like there's a crescent in Florida, is it? Or something like that?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know too much about that, but yeah, I've heard about that. And again, maybe also in the past, these people were going around. Maybe Rome was in America and in Europe. We got to stop thinking that they were stupid and didn't know that they could get across the water or that there was more land out there. You know, I think that's the recent lie that they want to teach us, that our ancestors were stupid and that they're the geniuses who founded and gave us everything. Like even this, you know, we talked about the Tesla stuff, like with Eric Dollard and them. I mean, at this point, I don't even think I think this stuff was already here and they had their best scientists from their big Jesuit universities come out and try to figure out the stuff that was already here. And they started finally figuring out like, oh, this is how you get the power on. You know, like someone really smart like Tesla was able to get the stuff that was already here operating.
Oh, like reverse engineer it and then.
Yeah. You know, I talked to my mom last night, Diggy, and I was asking her all about Italy and trying to know about my ancestors.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, Vinny, when in 1967, they still didn't even have indoor plumbing. You know, we were still going, they had an outhouse. They didn't have like air conditioning or nothing. And I'm like, but this is the Roman Empire, the greatest empire that ever existed. And yet in 1967, you know, they don't even have an indoor plumbing still.
Wow.
But yet we see these structures with ridiculous plumbing, you know, ridiculous. I mean, we also see sort of a Greco-Roman style to these buildings everywhere. Or what we're told is what they were building, right? So again, you know, people, I think you should, it's not Tartarians. I would say it was the Romans, the Egyptians, the old world, like that old world, where they were creating a one world system. And they had it.
I've just got a funny picture to show you both.
Yeah, cool.
Let me see that. I can't see it.
I like it. Yeah.
Oh, because you got it
up. Right. Yeah. We could.
I love it.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, you know, again, and when I look into Tartarian stuff, again, if people, you know, think I'm crazy and you want to argue, I'll give you the books for free. You can read it for yourself. You know, read the stuff, do the research. Yeah. I mean, the Tartarians were like nomads. There's nowhere where I find evidence of them being these great stone builders and building ridiculous cities. You know, it seems like the whole Genghis Khan is where it starts out, and they were called like the Tartarian. There was like a couple of different like Grand Tartaria, and I mean, it was a huge empire. I mean, Genghis Khan, they say, conquered the world again. Now, does that mean just a certain area and not the whole world? Or maybe it meant the whole world, right? And maybe our ancestors knew that there was more land out there and that they actually were everywhere, you know? On the maps, they weren't everywhere. Tartaria is, you know, basically like Russia and China, a huge part towards like Europe, and it was massive. But to me, I would say it's like the modern day Russia is what the old Tartaria was back in 1775.
Right. Okay. So modern day Russia area.
Yeah. That's what we now call Russia, because after the Tartarians ended, in my opinion, 1775, because they got this thing. They now we're taught the official story is it was like a peasant rebellion that got squashed. I think it was like Pozlov or something like that. And it was like a 3-year rebellion or something like that. But Semenko and these Russian scientists are saying it was a civil war, which is funny because that's what America had. That's what France had, right? Everybody all around the same time, late 1700s, 1800s, civil wars everywhere, right? So it's really that the Jesuits were taking over, in my opinion.
In disguise as war.
Yeah, like anybody who went against the Catholic Church got outed. And I think that the Tartarians were actually Christian and were legit Christian. And when this fake satanic church was trying to do whatever they're doing, they didn't go along with it. And the Vatican squashed them. And that's why they want them erased from history. And what they did is then put in their new puppet, which was the Romanov family, which then was now like given this new place, Russia. And basically the history of Russia is coming from the Romanovs. And I point out to Americans, we're told that America bought Alaska from the Romanovs, which means the Russians already owned land in America. Hello? Like, you know what I'm
documented,
saying?
Like,
yeah, so, you know, it seems like these families and bloodlines were carving up the world, you know? And if someone went against the powers that be, they get thrown out and they put a new puppet in. And, and I think that's how Russia really got its beginning, was with the Romanovs. And then you have the Romanovs outed by, in my research, the Rothschilds in the Vatican again got mad because the Romanovs didn't want to do a centralized bank and do all the stuff that they were doing. And they was, so basically the Rothschilds like forced this war with the Romanovs, even though they're family. And this is what I like to point out. They're still like related to the German emperor and this person. They're all still related. But they didn't do what the Rothschild and the Vatican wanted. So they went and killed the Romanovs, right? And then they install what? They install like Stalin and Trotsky and the communists. And they did horrible damage to a lot of people, didn't they?
And and I guess that links to the whole the orphans as well, right?
It seems like someone got squashed out and they just took over and erased that part of it. And then you got all these random babies, which they're all white. I mean, we got to be honest about that, right? I mean, I see all those orphan trains. It all looks like light, fair, like Russian maybe, like Russian people.
Jeez. Yeah.
A lot of them have like the light colored eyes, to me, it seems like even the word I always point out, slaves, Slavics, the Slavics, Ukraine, that whole area, is where it seems like the Vatican went hard against not that long ago. And
so
my
what?
wife is
Oh, hey. What are some of the myths that we should be kind of dodging, that have been put out there then from what you've seen?
The Tartarian one, like I said, I think people should look into Tartarian history, and maybe you'll come to the same, or maybe like what I'm saying, where it seems like they got wiped out in 1775 by the Catholic Church, and that again, these were people that were this world, like the people we're used to and the world we're used to, where people weren't super builders and having all this technology, and they were just like our ancestors. So they didn't build this stuff. So I would say people need to just call it the old world buildings. If you want, that's what I try to stick with. Don't call it Tartarian, because that to me is wrong and it's misinformation. It's two separate things to me, The Tartarians, we can get into them being erased from history, but to give them credit for building every structure that's all over the world, no, I wouldn't do that. So that's something I keep trying to tell the Tartarian community. Obviously, a lot of them don't want to hear that and talk to me about it.
I bet, boy. Vinny B, man, you're trying to mess my game up. You know what I'm saying, man? I got this channel.
Yeah.
Got 35,000 subscribers.
Yeah, it's funny, they're getting huge views, because again, it's like what Flat Earth was years ago. It's such a hot thing that everybody's digging into. People can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of seeing these buildings and these structures where it's like, who builds that? Like you have to be a genius. Like they had to be amazing, like sculptors there was this one place, what is that? Grand Central Station in New York, or like Port Authority. It's like where the big center for where all the buses and trains come.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
If you look at the old pictures, the place was ridiculous, beautiful. They destroyed most of it, but there's still some of it that's standing, right? And my uncle and my dad work in Manhattan, and they love all that stuff. So one day, my uncle, he takes me into Port Authority. And again, to me, it's clear this is an old world structure, right? And he makes me go into one corner of this room, and he stands in the other corner. Now, mind you, there's all this traffic and people walking around and conversations going on. I look into one corner and I whisper, and he hears it, and then he says something, and I could hear it.
Serious.
They have like sound thing. Like there's this other place in New York where you stand in this spot and you could yell as loud as you want and everybody around can't hear you. You can only hear yourself. I can't even explain like
what
some of this stuff. It's like audio magic. Like I don't even like. They were so smart, these people, that they built these things for the audio, the visual, everything. Like it was so in detail. I can't even explain like the magic of some of these things, man.
Wait, so you're saying that you were in a big area, right? You're in like the where they're waiting for the buses and whatnot, and your cousin, you said your cousin, right?
My uncle.
Your uncle, sorry, is at the other side of that area.
Yeah.
By the wall.
Like another corner opposed to me.
Yeah.
And you know, there's doorways where people walking in and out. And I don't know, they built this structure to where I could just talk into this and somehow travel through this structure, and my uncle's hearing it perfect on the other side, and we're talking to each other.
We've got that at St. Paul's as well, in top of St. Paul's Cathedral. Where
See, that's what I mean.
Called like the whispering gallery, so you can lean against the wall and whisper, and someone around the other side of the dome can hear you whispering.
Dan the man, Dan knows.
Dan knows. See that? That's some technology right there. People might never have known nothing about.
Nothing.
So imagine that. So that's how. What would you use that for? What kind of
talking to God?
God.
Who knows? You know. I mean,
but it seems like someone's standing in the middle being judged, and then they're whispering about the judgment. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to work out, should we cut his head off?
I can tell you that looking into some of the old world stuff and the Egyptian pyramid stuff, it seems like they talk about that they would use these things as healing centers, that they could use frequency. So maybe again, in the old world, they were using these things to heal, and they were to help.
Yeah,
healing. It has to do something probably with frequencies and some sacred geometry math. Math that the Masons have that we're not taught in school, and the regular people get to know about, which clearly came from an old world. I mean, even when you start, again, I keep looking at that stuff like Solomon's Temple. When you hear the way they're describing it, these are ridiculous, beautiful structures. So they were advanced back then. We got to stop thinking that they were primitive, stupid people. You know, they built some amazing stuff, and that's why I mean, like, I can't get enough of it either. And it's everywhere. I recently found out we got a pyramid in America. You can look it up. I have it saved. If you guys want to pull it up, you can just type in Wyoming pyramid, and you should see an image. And we have pyramid, standing, beautiful pyramid, right in the middle of nowhere of Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
Which again, late 1800s we're populating. What is that ridiculous pyramid?
How big is that?
Let me just get it up.
There's other ones. Like someone standing is only about the first block. It's big.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
it's a big pyramid.
There's a bunch of pyramids in America, right?
All over.
The mounds as well.
Yeah. Camiro's done a lot of great work on that with the South America stuff. I know Mexico, I think, the last I heard, I think the biggest pyramid in the world is in Mexico.
Wow.
Which again, why do they only just focus on those pyramids in Egypt?
Yeah.
Right? When you find out that there's pyramids everywhere. For you and your audience, do you guys know that there's over 100 pyramids in China? Just in China alone, there's over 100 pyramids. Okay? Wow. They're everywhere. That's what I'm saying. This was a one world. They weren't stupid and didn't know nothing until Columbus figured it out. That's a made up story. These people had a one world system already. They probably had beautiful, there it is. Now I get to see it. Yeah. That's in the middle of nowhere of Wyoming. Yeah, the Ames. Wyoming. They call it Ames. Yeah, like this guy just built it and then disappeared and left it there.
Wow, man.
Look at that.
Jeez.
I mean, most of the stuff is buried also. So, yeah, look at that pyramid. See, there you go. Look at that person, how big they are. You get to see, Biggie, right?
Yeah,
it's a pretty big pyramid.
Yeah.
It was some big block.
Yeah, what's going on
Doesn't
there,
seem like, chisels would do something like that.
Where are they getting them rocks from? Wow.
Again, when you read the stories, they're laughable. It's like the guy Ames shows up. He real quick builds it real quick, and then they find out that they built it in the wrong location, so they left it abandoned.
And then, built it in the wrong location. Mr. Green said carved out of a mountain. Could that be possible? Well, that was just a big piece of rock that was just there.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of these things you could actually, they've dug into, like even like those pyramids in Egypt. I mean, they've gone into these places. They are built, The stuff I would agree with your friend is the stuff that Jerry and Meltology is talking about. The caves, the things that we're told, mountains and caves. I think that stuff is melted buildings and made. That's where I think there was a recent destruction of fire. I think there definitely was a flood in the past. That was the original that wiped out most of the giants in the old world. But there's still a lot of evidence that shows. And again, even the explorers in the 14 and 1500s are talking about finding giants and mermaids, dragons. It seems like even that stuff might have actually still been here up until like as late as the 1800s, honestly. There might have still been giants and stuff up until the 1800s.
Like I've seen like images of old world maps that I've got, like they'll have certain areas, certain bits of land or whatever, but then in the waters they'll have like, sea dragons or mermaids or things like that, like kind of warning whoever's heading that way that that's what you possibly might see. But so there's been and I guess with the whole giants thing, there are people that talk about bones that have been found, and even to the point that I've heard, people say that even to the point of dinosaur bones actually being bones from giants. Giant like humans or giant people, I guess.
Yeah, but since the late 1800s or like the 1880s, we'll say, the Jesuits have been obsessed with creating this whole fake Darwin evolution thing they want to push. That's why you keep finding them behind these frauds like Piltdown Man and this and that, where they're always caught trying to push this stuff.
They messed up with the Piltdown Man, didn't they? They got caught
up. So why are these people that we're told believe in the Bible and following Jesus, why are they going around trying to cover up the past and lie about all this stuff? That's what people should ask themselves.
Yeah. Why? What would be the point? And how deep does the why go? The why, or should I say the lie? How deep does the lie go, And this is what we're talking about today, man. Some shit you might not never know nothing about with our brother Vinny B from the Bronx.
I did save some. I have some giants and some things if you wanted to see in screen share. I tried to real quick get some things lined up for you and your audience.
Yeah, man. Pull that up, man. Let's see.
Sounds good.
Giants, because the Giants thing is very interesting. Like, that did open my ears a lot more when I'll come across that. The fact that could be the reason why, certain bones are found. And then I've watched some stuff about giant people, some of the top 20 giant, people in the world. And you kind of think like, okay, for the most part, it seems to be a certain sort of,
okay. Let me
like a hormonal thing that causes.
Oh, you have it up?
Giantism. That's what you call it?
Yeah, it was saying it was disabled.
Yes. Big up the uncommon senses in the building, man. We love you lot, man. Hope you lot are enjoying the chat.
Yeah, and I definitely want to be able to show some images too, at least a couple.
Yeah, man. Definitely, Vinny, man. We always appreciate, you know what I mean? getting to see.
So like, here's one of the books I like. I have it on PDF. Anybody could have. Giants on Record, America's Hidden History. This one over here, you can see 18 feet tall, they were saying, in the 1800s. Smithsonian's. This one is a nice one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go back up again, because that, look at that.
Now, yeah, this one looks like, I don't know, I'd say at least probably about 12 feet. This one, they talk about 18-foot tall giants. This is a great book where it exposes about the Smithsonian files, because, again, the Smithsonian and the Vatican are stealing all these things, but you could go and look into newspaper and other stuff to, oh, how do I get this? Here's another one. This is one of my favorites, being in North America. The Encyclopedia of Ancient Giants. And I could literally, it's every state, newspaper articles, pictures, and all these things. In the 1800s, this was in all the newspapers and everything.
Right.
This is all the evidence. This is just for America in the 1800s, this book.
And who's it by? Fritz Zimmermann.
Yeah.
Right, and so this
Where
is
again,
all documented.
people are just putting them together, you know.
Giants of the Ohio Valley. Wow, so these are all like
like Illinois
reports of bones and that being found, or
I mean, I will give anybody for free the stuff so they can research for themselves.
Yeah, man. How can people get in touch? What's your email again, Vinny, so people can hit you up? Because I'm sure people will be interested in this.
Yeah. Vinny, VINNY, the letter D, BA, like DBA, truth. Vinny DBA, truth. I had to switch it up because I'm always getting hacked. But
what's the end of that? Gmail or something?
yes, Gmail. Yes, sorry.
So vinnydba@gmail.com.
But yeah, I got so many books I could show you guys. Oh, this I had set up. This is the flamenco. Again, for you and your audience, I have, they're past 21 books now, but I have all the first 21 books converted. One of my favorite ones is the one about the maps, where again, opposite land, man. Past the 1700s, this is a map they're showing you. The maps used to be upside down, like I've been trying to tell people for years.
Upside down meaning that means if it's upside down, then the west is the east and the east is the west.
Yeah. And the maps used to be upside down. They turned everything. Everything's inverted. These people inverted everything in the past 200 years.
All right.
This stuff gets into the Tartar stuff. So people that are into the Tartarian stuff, you can learn so much from flamenco and them. This gets into the Tartarians and all that also. They're again pointing out, like Dan was talking about, these phantom ages where they were adding in
extra 1,000 years.
Yeah, this is that book. I showed that.
So if they're extra 1,000 years, so what I'm thinking is like, so when you're saying the 1700s, that was actually the 700s.
Yeah. To me, again, I don't want to argue with people, but I believe Jesus was a real person. And that's why the whole world and the dating and everything was changed. So they all talked about before and after, right? And we still have the dating like that, right? BC and AD.
Yeah.
So, when they talk about, they could be talking about something from 700 AD. It actually might have been 1700 and just 300 years ago, not 1,300 years ago. Like, this stuff is a lot more recent. They're trying to stretch it out and add it in an extra 1,000 years, which they call the Dark Ages, right? Where basically, we had, again, these advanced civilizations that could build coliseums, aqueducts, and these ridiculous structures. A one world government, they could enslave the world, and then the whole world stopped building and doing anything for 1,000 years. Again, that's what people want to believe, and that's the official story. I don't buy that. That's why I think this makes a lot of sense. Why they're trying to add in time is to, like I said, throw you off, not let you know that this stuff was actually pretty recently. So when they're talking about a story from 300 AD was that 1300 AD. And what SYMNNNKNA and them show is that the thing that we take as a 1 was actually an I or a J, which stood for, again, Jesus, meaning Esau or Jesus, depending on if you were in Arabic or whatever language you were from. And in that book, in those books, they have lots of evidence of these maps and old stuff. I don't have it queued up or anything, but they'll show you where something will say like 394, and then they're telling you, oh no, yeah, that's, you know, that was this year or something like that. So there's a lot of evidence to it, and that's why I wonder, did Jesus, was that just 1,000 years ago, and we're like at the end of the 1,000-year Christianity reign? That's a whole nother thing, deep thing. But
1,000-year Christianity reign, not the 2,000. Was it?
And they're still waiting for him, right? I mean, all the Christians are still waiting. That was something that was hard for me. You know, again, I used to think it was funny that Christians and people were waiting 2,000 years for someone to return. Even if it's 1,000 years or whatever, it seems like a long time to have to wait. A long time of suffering. It doesn't make sense, but that's why I'm someone, I guess I should just, you know, I know it pisses off a lot of Christians, but yeah, I guess what they call a preterist, in the view that I believe Jesus clearly said to there's some quotes where he says that he'd be coming right back. He talked to some saying that there's some of you that I'm talking to that won't see death before I come back. I believe Jesus came back about 30 years after he died, and everything was destroyed, and Christianity took over, and yeah, the Christians went around, and you have the Crusades take over, which they teach us in your English history. They teach you as what, like 1096 to 1099 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it is that, isn't it? They use those numbers,
yeah,
for sure, man.
So let's say that it's not a 10, and it was Jesus, and about 90 years after Jesus. Now, let's say Jesus was killed when he was 33. 33 years later, 66. 1066. Isn't that another big year for the English? William the Conqueror. In Roman history, we're taught about the Jewish Jewish wars, where Israel's destroyed, where Jerusalem's destroyed, written by Josephus Flavius, right? The big history story they talk about. 66 AD. Well, if you add 1,000 years in, is that the same exact time as we're told the Crusades were happening in England? You see what I'm saying? Where you could play around with adding 1,000 years in, and you're talking about the same timeline. I've always said that too. It doesn't make sense that the Crusades would happen 1,000 years after Jesus. Why'd you wait 1,000 years to go get revenge? Wouldn't it have happened right when it happened? So were the Crusades right when Jesus was there, about 1,000 years ago? I think so. I think there's more evidence. That makes more sense to me than he hasn't been back in 2,000 years and everybody's still waiting. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I get into that.
Yeah, that's deep, man. That is deep, Vinny. Hold on. So yeah, I guess that's, like you said, it's something for people to look into, because it's quite a mind-boggle. That's a mind-boggling.
It's something I don't even really talk to. I can't even talk to with most people. I have shout out to my best friend Matt Whalen. If you're listening, you might be listening actually too. Shout out to my brother Matt. I mean, me and him for at least 8 years have been going into this and looking for stuff. That's why we're also, I'm also with my friend Matt, we're obsessed with Antarctica because I'm so convinced that Antarctica isn't what they tell us. It's not just some ice thing, you know, that and there's nothing there. Why did all the nations sign a treaty in like the 50s or whatever that nobody could go there? What's really out there? What's out there is probably something that would give away the story. And then that if you see what's out there, I mean, maybe that's where the New Jerusalem is for people that are really into this stuff, where if Jesus came back, they talk about a temple and the saints and this and that. Well, maybe that's in Antarctica. I mean, we really don't even know what's in Antarctica if people want to be honest about it. You know, all we could go on is other people's stuff, right?
Yeah.
Admiral Byrd. I mean, people love to talk about Admiral Byrd. Well, Admiral Byrd said there's more land, right? He said there's a lot of land. He said there was a crystal city.
The thing I wonder about that though is like Admiral Byrd seems to be like you can find him quite easily. You can find Admiral Byrd quite easily on YouTube and whatnot. He doesn't seem to be getting blocked anywhere. So I wonder how true any of that is.
Yeah, and it's like mainstream now. I feel like, again, they probably hijacked it and they want to give some misinformation. But there probably was something to it. And again, I look at the video he made, the interview he made in the 50s. And he was like, he seemed like he was, you know, he definitely saw stuff out there and was like, yeah, there's more out there.
Yeah, at the same
seems
time.
Seems like that got squashed. And he probably had to shut up after a while.
Yeah, and it could be like they were like at the same time as I'm saying that, I'm thinking that they could be like saying, okay, well, whoever finds this out, at least you find out. You know, like they've told us. Like but
they could still have it hijacked and like kind of steer you with their stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't confirm anything.
And again, with old maps and stuff, where I love looking at the old maps literally show like, is it Chile? One of the South American countries literally goes and like touches Antarctica. So like, you know, it wasn't like nobody could get there. I deep down believe that there's a lot more land that we're not even allowed to see. And I think Antarctica might have a lot of secrets that we would have to be able to get there to uncover. But for all we know, maybe Jesus came down, put New Jerusalem out there, and there's a golden crystal city there that Jesus made 1,000 years ago. Can someone prove me wrong? All right. No, because we can't go there, can we?
Yeah,
So it kind of puts a damper on things, you know?
It's very much it's a trick to try and do that. All right, I'm just Googling Antarctica now on Google Maps. Oh, it's Argentina. You're right. Argentina's quite close. Yeah, would they be able to?
Yeah, on the old maps, it went all the way to it. They were literally touching, you know. So again, I'm sure there was interaction there. And like we said, right, we've never been there, so we got to go by images that we're seeing from other people, right? Yeah. But if the images are real, it does look like there's structures and things out there, you know?
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's not anything that supports the current narrative. Otherwise, they would be all over it and they'd be saying, "Oh, look how wonderful this place in South Pole is, that it shows that all this happened in the past," and whatever it is, they want to keep it. Like, I agree, whatever it is, they want to keep it covered up.
Again, it doesn't make sense that everybody would agree that nobody could go there. What are you protecting? Penguins, ice caps? What are you scared of? People going and seeing ice caps? Because that's what they tell us it is, right?
Yeah.
But I seen old maps where it has it mapped out. There's old maps that show you Antarctica. Again, how do I know it's real? I don't want to claim like, I know this is true because I seen this map from the 1500s. I don't do things like that. I just throw it out there right? And it's for people to
question. You just question.
You know,
and who the last people that went and really investigated it properly was the National Socialists with their Neuschwabenland, and obviously we don't know what they got up to down there, or what they found, or they was into all that sort of stuff. Yeah, why were they looking exactly? Yeah, they were looking for.
They knew something was there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, for them to say like, yeah, hold on, we plot here. All right, no one else go further than this point. That's it. We all agree. Yeah. Then why? Like why?
Exactly.
For what reason? Do you know what I mean? Regardless of whatever shape of the planet people think, or the plane or whatever we're on, like why would they all of a sudden go, wait? Yeah, we know we love to learn about nature. We love to learn about this planet we're on. We want to. We build these submarines to go how many miles deep into the abyss, into the seas. We'll build these rockets that, oh shit, that didn't work, but we'll build another one and we'll go onto the moon. But we don't want to find out what the hell's going on in this ice world. Nah, something don't seem right.
There was even something I remember hearing about on 9/11, that there was some kind of a pulse that was generated in Antarctica on 9/11. I can't remember who read it. Maybe it's like Joseph Farrell or someone like that, talking about some kind of shockwave that was emanating from Antarctica or something.
That's interesting because
on 9/11,
it makes me think of the Judy Wood stuff. For people who know her, with the whole
it's something to do with Judy Wood. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it makes me think of, again, 9/11 was it like a Tesla death ray, like they used vibration to literally just annihilate that whole thing.
Yeah, it is something to do with that. You're
Tesla
right.
was talking about 100 years ago.
Yeah, and again, something that the National Socialists probably wouldn't have shied away from investigating Tesla and death rays and all the It give you a leading edge in a war anyway.
I'm
just trying to see if there's anything about it.
That's pretty nuts, man. Yeah,
that's why I'm going to have some good questions for Eric Dollard, the modern day Tesla.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think there's definitely something to the whole. We've been talking about frequency and how that it relates in so many ways. Obviously, like to do with colors and whatnot. How you feel. You walk into a room with a certain color. Or, someone's wearing a shirt or whatever and it's a certain color, how you might feel meeting them or seeing them. Obviously, music, there's certain frequencies that you're hit with in that sense. And then even down to touch and whatnot. Like people, some people like to do training in a hardcore sense. Some prefer it, not too hardcore. They prefer jiu-jitsu as opposed to Muay Thai or whatever. So I think.
Speaking of fighting, man, shout out to England UFC. He beat. We
got a champion over here, bro. Man. Yeah, man. Usman. What you say, man?
That's 2 in a row. He deserves his credit now, man.
Yeah.
He can't got lucky with that head kick no more.
Well, yeah. That was it. I think Usman was a bit worried about the head kick. No, he was a bit too worried about that. So he seemed to be very good at blocking anytime the kick came up. So it's like he seemed to be focused on that more. After getting knocked out like that, you can't blame him.
Yeah.
But, it cost him the fight, man. I'm sorry to, but we got to keep that belt here for some time now. Leon Edwards.
I was happy for him, actually.
Yeah, there's only one Rocky Edwards. Yeah, that was fun, man. Yeah,
I'm a big UFC fan, man. So when I seen your raps on it and this and that, I was like, oh yeah, we could talk UFC too anytime.
Yeah, definitely, bro. That'd be good, man. For sure. Yeah. I'm watching it like every time it's on. Like, I'm making sure I'm catching up if I'm not watching it live.
Yeah.
But that one, I managed to catch it live. That was a good one. Gagey and what's his name? Fiziv.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
That was a crazy
fight, boy. That guy looked so fast and good in the first round, right? Yeah. I was like, wow. I thought he was going to beat Gaethje at first.
Nah, man, but Gaethje just pulled it. He's got that veteran. He's been in some wars, man. Even before he was in UFC, when he was in World Series of Fighting. Some wars he was in already, you know. So now he just knows how to play the game. He's like, all right, I'm gonna wear you out. Yeah.
Weather the storm, and then I'm gonna crack him.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun, man. Definitely.
Yeah, he's fun to watch.
Yeah, modern day warriors, boy.
Yeah,
animals in there. We definitely, we should do it maybe do a MMA show, man.
We got it one time. Yeah, we got to do something for UFC.
That'll be fun, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, Antarctica, man. This is, this is really puzzling me because even looking when you're going on Google Maps, it's only letting you see a certain amount of it as well. It's not letting you go across the whole continent.
Yeah, because Google probably ain't allowed down there.
It's weird, isn't it? So satellites, nothing can go, you can't even hover over.
I suppose if you've got a satellite there, you've got some sort of edge over the other countries, so maybe they don't allow anything down there. So that's what their official thing might be. You're not even allowed to map it.
You're just scrolling. It's just at the bottom. That's it. Like, that's it. Here,
you're at the bottom.
Antarctica, that's what are you looking for? Don't worry about nothing. Look, we're just gonna keep on going then, bro. What you look like? I'm trying to go down further south, which would end up going north.
If I owned Google Maps, I would put a Hollow Earth in there just for fun. Just for fun, just so people would go into the Hollow Earth and
switch it up every 33 days.
Just make it fun.
Yeah. 33 years. Just throw some gematria shit in there somehow, some way. But yeah, things like that. It is, man, that's confusing. I ain't gonna lie. Like, you brought that up, Vinny, and it's really made me think about why they would do that then. Like, what is there for real? At the moment, they've built sort of little towns, I guess, where they've got some kind of construction going on. Is that right? In Antarctica, where people are allowed to go and they're only the people that work there. I believe that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's the story, I guess, right? I don't know.
And so, that seems to be the story. Like, so when people say you can go there, that's what they mean. That really is that you can go there if you work there, but otherwise you're not allowed to go there. And then furthermore, look how much of there is. Like, there's none. They only work on a certain part of that continent.
Yeah,
and that's it. So what the hell is going on with the rest of it, bruv?
Yeah, and wow. I think it's a massive piece of land, and maybe it has something there that they can't let us see. And to me, the only thing that I could really think of is maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just saying. Imagine if it was like the temple, like Jesus's temple, or what he came down to. When he came back. He came down with his temple, the New Jerusalem, where the saints and everybody were at. And because, again, we got to accept the fact that Christianity did take over. So, again, we had this old world with these people, the Romans, and them building ridiculous stuff with all this power. And then everything stops. I know the official story is they got attacked by barbarians and the city's burned. And then somehow we just go into 1,000 years of darkness. I don't believe that,
Right.
Imagine if it's Jesus after he came back and he's fuming. He's been reborn and he's been there for
because they talk about there's going to be this 1,000 he's supposed to come back. Because I'll tell you what, most Christians, the average Christian, right, that doesn't think Jesus came back, they're waiting. It's 2,000 years. They're waiting. They're just waiting for the Antichrist and all these things to come, right? Basically, they're excited because they want to be a part of, Jesus comes back and they get to smash, like Bill Gates and these people. And it's and righteousness. You get rid of all the filth, right? And you get to have this righteous world, led by Jesus, right? And but what I'm saying is, when I look at the old world and I look at all these places 300, 400 years ago, every place was Christian already. And it seems like this fake Vatican has taken over everything and is pushing not true Christianity. They're clearly pushing Zeus, Lucifer, and so something's gone on. And I can't act like I definitely know, but to me, I definitely feel like they're hiding something. And what could they be hiding? Maybe the fact that Jesus did come back, and that whole millennial reign that the Christians are waiting for actually already happened, and we're on the tail end of that. The 1,000 years passed. The whole world turned Christian. Maybe you should stop waiting for that and say that already happened. And now we're in the short season that the Bible gets into. Again, this is so hard to try to talk about. And, obviously people are going to get polarized and this could lead to a lot of fights and arguments.
Yeah.
So it's hard to,
that goes.
talk, but I feel comfortable with you guys, and that's why I love being able to talk with you guys openly about basically anything, even crazy stuff like this,
Nah, that's what we're here for, man. Open talk, you know what I mean? Like, no prejudice, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, it's good to just listen and then think about things, like break down things by yourself. Like, if you feel like it's worth you looking into just to even prove yourself right or wrong or whatever, then I think it's good to do, man. So, man, love for always spreading, you know what I mean, some knowledge with us, Vinny B, man.
I said that to Bro Sanchez yesterday. When I told you we were talking about the Eric Dollard. And again, I'm like, he's not Christian. He's very against Christianity. And here it is, I say I'm Christian, right? And here it is, we're getting along, right? And working together. And, and I told him, I said, I'm not like most Christians. I guess you could call me the conspiracy Christian too, because I basically believe in Jesus, but I question everything I'm told, so I'm like a conspiracy Christian, you could call me too. I don't, I get along with everyone. I hope everybody can respect me, even if I call myself a Christian and you're not. And that's what I'm doing with Bro Sanchez and others,
Always appreciated, bro. Definitely, man. I think, I think, like, it's beautiful as well, the fact that you can say all of that and I don't think anyone can say they felt like you've been pushing, that, your spirituality on anyone either. It's like you've got the understanding that everyone has their own path. Everyone, as long as, and I think it's about the spirit, and it's about the spirit within the person, as opposed to
and to me, the spirit of Jesus. Let's just say Jesus isn't real, okay, but the spirit, right? The message is love and forgiveness. At the end of the day, that is Jesus. And to me, the Vatican has given it such a black eye that, like, nobody wants to, like, even me, I admit, growing up, I wasn't raised to be Christian. Like, for anybody who doesn't know me, I grew up in the Bronx not wanting to be Christian, never wanting to read the Bible, any of that. But to me, it's the real message of Jesus is love and forgiveness. And it's not the Catholic Church and the hypocrites and the people that use it, right? But the actual message of Jesus, to me, is the best I've ever seen. I can't find anything better. His words, whether he's made up or not, are powerful. And I don't see anybody who preached what he did. Everybody wants, like, revenge, like, you hurt me, eye for an eye, about power, about this and that. Jesus wasn't that. Jesus was about forgiving even the enemy, and right away they want to push him like he's this soft hippie. That's not what Jesus was. Jesus was far from being soft, and he was far from being a punk. Also, I like to, I want to say this, and I hope it doesn't offend people, but to me, a true Christian and following Jesus is the epitome of what a real man should be and what people would look up to. It's like the old school, like we used to, you know, in America, we taught like John Wayne films and like the old, you know, like a man's man and, you know, you don't cry and work hard and like, you know what I mean? Like that we were taught these certain things, right? Well, think about if someone's a true Christian, that's someone who's not going to lie. They're a man of their word, right? They're not going to steal. They're not going to be trying to bang your wife. They're not going to be trying to do any of the stuff. If someone is a true Christian, to me, that's the epitome of like what we're supposed to be. You know, like Jesus is showing you how we're supposed to be, you know, and to me, there's nothing better that I found, you know. And so even if I was to find out he was fake, I'd probably still say I love the message of Jesus. So like you said, the spiritual and stuff like that, I think the Vatican has made it look so bad, but Jesus himself is pretty awesome, man. And I recommend people checking him out. You know, the real Jesus, not the Catholic Church Jesus, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting how it's all interlinked as well, man. Like the fact that there's, you know, sort of biblical times that we've been told about, that are written about, but then they may
I mean,
have
look
been...
at common law, right? I mean, I'm taught that England, right? It comes from England, right? With the Magna Carta, right? A big part of history, right? The Magna Carta and common law, right?
Yeah. That's what they say. There's more to it than that, but yeah. It's basically...
Now, where does that come from? That's based off of what? It's based off of Christianity, true Christianity. All the good stuff that we had was based off of this. That's what I mean. If you have an uncorrupted system and it's the righteous way, you got rights. You got people treating each other good. You don't have slavery. You don't have people sacrificing babies to Zeus or whoever. You know, you don't have robbery. You don't have war. It is, to me, the real deal. It's just been corrupted. And that's where I stand. And, you know, I'm not trying to be, like I said, the Inquisition and Jesuit and force people to do anything. It's the same thing like flat earth or something to me. I can't tell someone the earth's flat and they just say, I believe it and change their whole life. They have to see it for themselves, right? Yeah. It's when they see it for themselves. They do their own research and they have their own awakening of, oh my God, this doesn't make sense that they do. Yeah, now you're seeing it. You're not just Eric Dubay said it or Vinny B said it, Dave White said it. No, you saw it for yourself. And that's the same way I feel with Jesus, or if people want to believe in Muhammad or anything, right? People have to make the choice. You know, you can't force people to. So, you know, I don't try to, and I don't think it's right. But yeah, if anybody wants to talk to me about that stuff, I'm open to talk about it. But yeah, if not, I'll talk about the UFC fight this weekend, whatever you want, you know?
Love, man. Nah, man. We always appreciate you coming through, Vinny B, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Definitely. Boy, we went in there, man. Serious. I think, there's a lot to take home with that one.
Is there anything your audience or anybody, is there any...
Yeah, are there any questions? Any questions in the chat? Uncommon Senses, man. Let us know if there's anything that was bugging you. I think there might have been one or two people that had some questions.
I want to hear.
Yeah, I think obviously there's the whole thing with the shape of the plane or the planet.
Oh, what? A lot of people still think they're on a water ball.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely.
I got some books on that too. If anybody wants, I have some good flat Earth books and stuff too.
Yeah, people hit him up, man. Vinny DBS at Gmail.
DBA. Yeah,
DBA. Sorry, vinnydba at gmail.com.
Yeah,
Vinny DBA Truth. Yeah. Let me. I'll write it down, man.
It looks like because it got changed. I originally was Vinny B the Truth. That's what everybody used to call me when I first started out. And but then again, after a while, I became a Christian, and I don't want to call myself the Truth So I don't call myself the truth no more. And then I've been hacked a bunch of times, so I couldn't even keep like Vinny B the truth as the email. So I just changed the B and the, I think it was like the B and A. I just switched around. That's why it looks weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I'm always getting hacked.
For people who wondered, when you say you became a Christian, did you start going to church and all that? Or
No, because Jesus. That's another thing where I piss off a lot of Christians and people, but clearly Jesus is a personal relationship. I could point out where Jesus tells people to go to their prayer closet, right? So what does that mean if Jesus is telling you to go to your prayer closet? That's the complete opposite of saying go to church. He actually tells people, he actually points out that the people that go, like the Jews were doing at the time, where they go to church and they'd be wailing and at the wall, or, you know, just like we see today, some churches where people go and they're all hollering and going all loud. That's actually not, Jesus says that's not what to do. He says that people that do that are doing that so everybody, so they're getting glory from their name, so everybody thinks they're a good person. It could be an act, right? It's like Bill Clinton and these people holding the Bible and saying they go to church. I'm a good guy. I go to church on Sunday, right? But they're a little demon pedophile or something, right? Just because you go to church on Sunday and this and that, you know, he preached the opposite. You know, he said that he's with you also. It's not like you need to go to some expert. You know what I mean? You don't need to go to the Catholic Church. Jesus is with you all the time. And he wants you to have it privately. Because if you're doing it in front of people, you could be doing that for glory here, for your pride. So, you know, oh, that woman over there, you know, at the church, oh, she thinks I'm a good guy, right? Everybody thinks I'm good. Look, I'm throwing up, oh, I'm giving all this money. Look at all the charity I'm doing. That doesn't, the Shriners do lots of charity. Right? I know what they are, right? So church, I don't go to church. Jesus doesn't say I have to go to church. Jesus says that he's with me, that if I accept him, that he's with me, and I could talk to Jesus anytime. So why do I got to go to church? You know, this is a fight I get into a lot. Johnny Cerrucci is another one who's big into that, like exposing the Jesuits and saying like, you don't need to go to church. You know what I mean? Like these people are hijacked this Christianity and they're using it as evil. Jesus obviously wasn't about power. So why would he create this powerful thing, you know, to control people? You know, no, Jesus is with you. You don't need a church. You don't need experts. You know, you don't need me. You could talk to God anytime you want. And you want to do it privately. So it's really just you could get your message to God.
Yeah, it's
and
pure.
You can talk.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And prayer is one of the number one things that they all talked about. And the power of prayer. People could call that meditation now, right? There's so many people who talk about meditation. It's the same thing, right? Jesus talks about going and meditating and praying and fasting and things like that. You know, nowhere does he say you have to go to church every Sunday and donate money and any of that. That's all this fake church. So, yeah, I don't go to church. I read the Bible myself. I choose to talk to other people that I think know a lot and I can learn from and talk to them, right? Just like, you know, I want to know about Tesla technology, talk to Eric Dollard. Right? If someone's a biblical expert or something, ask their take on things, you know, but it's me. I'm not listening to anybody. You know what I mean? I don't need a church or a priest or anyone to go to.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I think a lot of that again was created as a thing for people to come together and to use it. You know, it was used at first as a good thing, but was probably corrupted right away. Like, obviously, people meeting and talking about love and getting along isn't a bad thing, you know, so I'm not trying to say for people who go to church, like, oh, you know, don't do that. I'm sure maybe you get something good out of it, but it's not like what Jesus says you have to do. I mean, people would be amazed if you actually read it for yourself. Like everybody thinks Jesus' birthday is December 25th, right? But in the Bible, in the King James Bible, it's still in the King James Bible. It points out that that's what the pagans do. That's not what the Christians do. That's not Jesus' birthday. That's a pagan holiday.
So he's telling.
So December 25th isn't Jesus' birthday. Most biblical scholars say that it was probably like in September. So a lot of people say that Jesus was born on 9/11 maybe. But December 25th isn't his birthday. But yet everybody celebrates Jesus' birthday on December 25th. It's not it, but it's literally in the Bible telling you not to do that. You see what I mean? This is how far gone everybody is, man. You know, the people that go to church every Sunday are going there listening to an expert tell them stuff. They don't even realize that the stuff isn't even in the Bible, probably a lot of the stuff that they believe in. It's been so corrupted in the past at least 150 years with the Jesuits. The Jesuits in 1885, they took the Apocrypha out. People come at me, oh, you talking about King James. He took the Apocrypha. King James didn't take the Apocrypha out. The Apocrypha was in the King James original Bible up until 1885. That's when the Jesuits took it out of the King James Bible. It was in there up until 1885. King James didn't take stuff out of the Bible. The Jesuits recently have. The Apocrypha was in it. The Book of Enoch was there up until recently. You know? So, it is what it is, man.
Vinny
you know,
B
there's so many things people think is Christianity that's not. Like December 25th. That's not Jesus' birthday. I know whose birthday it is. It's the sun god. You know? December 25th, the sun's born, right? Like they keep telling you Jesus really is. They want you to think Jesus is really just the sun god they all worship. You know, maybe you're right and I'm wrong, but you know, but I think he actually wasn't. He's the opposite of them. He's the enemy. That's why they hate him. And you know, speaking on that, maybe your boy Dan. I know you probably follow Israeli news, right? With them little short hats down there, right? Did you see? I think it was 2-3 days ago. They're trying to pass a law in Israel to where nobody can mention Jesus. If you mention him, you could go to jail. You could look this up.
No.
What?
The No High Lords and them in Israel are literally, you cannot mention Jesus or you'll go to jail. So again, that to me is like, wait, I thought this is your made up guy. Why can't I hear about your make believe Santa Claus? Why are you scared? Why do you hate this guy if he's not even real? You know, oh, is it because he called you out and he destroyed your nation? I mean, they hate Jesus. So again, if he's made up, they hate to make believe Jesus. They hate this guy.
But could he be made up and to make him seem real, they make a bunch of people hate this guy?
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing, you know, the Jews were around. The history, we got history from before Jesus, right? And you got the Jews and them waiting for a Messiah. And here's another thing I found out that I think a lot of people don't know. I think this might blow a lot of people's mind. That the story is written in the stars. It's not just in the Bible. The original Zodiac and the stories were in the stars. And the stars talk about a savior coming also. So, you know, I think this story has been around. The Jews were waiting for the Messiah. They were waiting for the savior, right? And then when Jesus comes, they rejected him, right? And then they had him killed by the Romans, right? So, you know, and then you got Israel gets destroyed, and that's history. That's mainstream that everyone knows about the 66 AD and what happened to Israel, to Jerusalem. They were crushed.
Yeah.
And to me, the whole world turned Christian. So, again, I think if things are legit and you don't have corruption, why wouldn't you want laws like that? They're basic laws, right? Like, that's why I like the Killah Priest song, right? Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. And before I was a Christian, I used to listen to that and love it. And I'm like, Cesare Borgia, the white image of Christ, who's this? Right? And that's why I was a fan of Killah Priest. That was like one of my favorite songs growing up, right? Was Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth, he called it, right?
Same, that was a big tune, man.
Yeah, you know, but maybe it is.
All right, so before we go, someone asked about what do you think about archons? What's your view on is it archons they asked about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Archons.
Oh, where like there's been multiple like different Jesuses, like Prester John and stuff like that. Is that what he means?
I guess so.
I think they mean the archons that is like a sort of energy
like
that takes people over and they're sort of like a
they'll be like the gods
them?
kind of
but they're like a sort of spirit thing that inhabits like a sort of toxic personality that inhabits
and again, you know, speaking
leaders
as a Christian, trying to see it through Christian eyes and the Bible, it talks about we're in spiritual warfare. And, you know, we are fighting spirits. They're right outside our reality. And again, you got places like CERN and these other places that have the symbolism everywhere. It's the symbolism is all about the old world and Lucifer and all this stuff and dealing with these other entities. So even the elite are like messing around with it. So again, I would assume that it's probably real, right? That we have spiritual entities and beings, another dimension that's like right here with us. You know, we're just tuned into a different frequency, like we talk about frequencies, and we're seeing this realm, but there's other things that are here. And yeah, I definitely think that's possible. I definitely believe in dark spirits taking over people. There seems to be a lot of evidence. Again, I've never had it happen. You know, I've never started speaking in tongues or had a stigmata or something, but I definitely think it's possible.
Yeah. For real, you're more just reminding me, man. I just got to say Happy New Year, Happy True New Year to everyone out there.
That's right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We're here now, we're in spring. It's that time. Dan, don't shake your head, man. You're involved, bro. It's New Year. I forgot. We should have got some more celebrations going on, really. Then,
you're right.
Get the roll call, man. What you lot blazing on that?
and that was what it was. We talk about the old world. The old world, the calendar was based off of the moon, not the sun. We live in a world where everything's on the sun now because we got these sun-worshipping Romans in charge, right?
Yeah.
But the moon was months, right? The word months comes from moons, right? And a month was a moon cycle. And all this stuff was based off of
that makes sense.
Yeah, and the calendar was, like you said, this would be the beginning, this spring.
Yeah.
Why would you have the beginning of the year in the middle of winter? And even in the names themselves, December comes from the Roman word desa, meaning 10.
10, yeah.
December used to mean 10, meaning the 10th month, not the 12th last month. So again, recently they changed, and who did it? It was the Vatican, of course, changed our dating systems and our stuff.
Was it like they added 2 extra months?
Yeah. And they named it after what? Romans, right? Julius Caesar for July.
And August.
Right? Julius Caesar. August for Augustus Caesar. Right? It's clearly, you know, the Roman Empire created this calendar and stuff.
Matrix.
It's not the original Jewish biblical version. That was the moon. You know. Also, it was like a day started like when the sun's down. That's why you still see the Jews on like a Friday, or the Hasidic Jews or whatever, Khazarian Jews, whatever. People don't get mad, but you know, Friday night comes and it's already Saturday to them. But to us, it's still Friday night till 12 o'clock, and then But it's no, sundown, that's it. Day's done. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much stuff. And
got us disconnected, boy. Disconnected like a mother lover.
And we have no idea because, like I said, can you imagine? There could be so much more land. What do we really know? There could be so much stuff that's still hidden that we don't know much about.
Yeah, for real. That's exactly what we're talking about with that Antarctica right there. They ain't letting us see nothing, not even on Google Maps, boy. Uber ain't getting you there for shit. You try to get Uber, I want to go Antarctica. Nah, you're all right, bruv. Calm down. We ain't getting there. You get to Argentina, that's it. Just to the peninsula.
You know what? You might have to try Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, yeah.
See if Ask Jeeves will tell you what's there, because he might have some old maps.
DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Try and get there, boy.
Out of Vista. Go back a few years. Try a search engine from 20 years ago.
I wonder if there's some like Telegram group or something where they're trying to get to Antarctica. You know what I mean? If we try and raise enough money, we could get Billy over there, see what's going on his own.
Storm Antarctica.
Yeah, I'd love to go. Who wouldn't, you know?
Yeah, for real, man. That would be the ultimate, man.
Isn't that the funny thing too? Like, think about it. Like, let's say Egypt and all that stuff, and you've been there in Europe for 2,000 years. Like, why would they need in like 500 years ago? They had to go around and start finding everything. Like, they were just figuring everything out like 500 years ago. You know what I mean? It just doesn't add up that this is where you had this great technology and power, and then all of a sudden you just couldn't do anything for 1,000 years. And you basically, up until the 1800s, nobody still could do anything.
Yeah.
And you're just starting to figure out things in the late 1800s. Just doesn't all add up, does it? I mean, it doesn't.
That is kind of weird. All right. Lastly, this is the last one. We don't want to hold you up, Vinny. We always appreciate you coming through, though, bruv, man. Serious. Regantology asks, what does Vinny think about Hinduism or the Zoroastrians? Apparently older texts and many stories plagiarized for what we know as the Christian Bible. Yeah,
that's the funny thing. Great question. Whoever asked that.
Regantology there. Go on.
Yeah, I could, if whoever that guy is, if you were to email me, I will give you all the flamenco books. And in one of them, they point out something that I've been trying to say to people too, but now I like to show flamenco and other people. Look, these researchers saying the same thing, right? They're saying that Buddhism and that stuff wasn't even invented until like the 1800s. So like, again, they're trying to make you think that these things are a lot older than they are, and they're not. Buddhism was basically, and this ain't me, Mr. Jesuit guy. This is what Fomenko and the Russian scientists are saying. Same thing, that these Catholic priests and Jesuits showed up in these areas and started making up this stuff in the 1800s. It seems like. So they want you to think Buddhism has been around forever, but it's actually a new Catholic Church invention to trick those people into fake story or to believe something's a lot older than it really is. They want you to think it like predates the Jews and Christianity and all that when it actually doesn't.
Wow.
In my research, these people, the Chinese and these people were actually also Christian back a while ago. They converted to Christianity 1,000 years ago also. And so a lot of these stories they're telling us are just recent made up stuff. So I would tell that guy his question. I think that Buddhism is a new creation from the 1800s. Wow. They're trying to make you think it's been around forever, but it hasn't.
That's
and a lot of these old things are all the same thing. Like I said, that it's this mystery school of Babylon. Where they basically worship Nimrod or Zeus or whatever you want to call this character. This is what they were worshiping, just like we watch the elite now worship Lucifer or whatever. this was what they were worshiping. And they tricked that into stories of like, oh yeah, this is what they were always worshiping. I actually have a lot of proof to show. I mean, even a lot of these names, whether even in Japan, a lot of the original names were Christian names of these kings and people that were ruling. It just sounds different because it's Chinese name, but it's literally like Christopher and it's John and it's this and that. Like it's based off of Christianity. A lot of it was that up until recently. So that's what I feel. That's my research, and I think that was a great question. And I think people should look into that too. Because maybe we're wrong. Maybe SYMNNKNA and these guys are wrong too in their research.
Yeah, but it's all about everyone digging deeper and deeper until we find,
But to me, it seems like a lot of this stuff is made up recently.
Yeah,
maybe even the Muslim stuff too. That they talk about the Muslim stuff isn't that old either. They point out that it doesn't add up the timeline they're trying to say with Muhammad and this and that. Again, maybe that stuff was made up in like the 1800s too, for all I know.
I mean, look, man, there are so many different religions out there. And there's thousands, right? There's thousands of different religions out there, and so which one is right? And if not, why would there be so many? How would so many people believe in these different deities, and or have their different lane of worshipping a certain deity? Like with Christianity, you got so many different denominations and whatnot.
Well, I could tell you, again, being Mr. Jesuit expert, and for your audience, that's the most books I have. I have books, tons of books from the 1800s, literally the 1800s and stuff, all about the Jesuits and this and that. And,
jeez.
Gotta
hit him up, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like they basically, the Jesuits themselves say that they invented the Quran and the Muslims. They said that this was their way to divide and conquer the Middle East, was to create the Muslim. Now again, for people, don't get mad at me. I'm not saying this is my opinion.
Yeah.
This is literally what the Catholic Church and the Jesuits say they did. They say they recently made up the Muslim religion to cause wars and fights, to go out there, to basically, cause civil wars and fight. And we still see to this day, right, wars with Muslims and Christians and people. So I'm just saying this is what they say, and maybe they're right. Maybe they're telling the truth. And it seems like SYMNNKNA and those guys also agree that it's a newer creation.
That's yeah. You might cause some trouble with that one.
I know, and again, I don't mean to.
That's deep.
And I'm not talking down to any Muslims or anyone, but I'm just saying what they say,
Yeah, that's deep.
And when you start looking into things, you start finding out like one of his wives was a nun from the Catholic Church. I don't know if you and a lot of the audience know that, but Muhammad was with a Catholic nun.
Wow.
I don't know. To me, that sounds like a handler. The way I see things nowadays, you got some Jesuit expert telling you what to do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That's interesting. We'll have to look into that one, boy. Wow.
So many rabbit holes, man.
Yeah, Vinny, I'm going to hit you up for some of them books, man, for sure, bruv, because, there's some interesting stuff you're sharing with us right there.
And I'd like, because, I'm just one person, and I don't have enough time to just do all the work, and so maybe, again, there's people in your audience that will get these SYMNNKNA books or something and do better work than I am, and figure out more,
You can try, man.
I'm just doing the best I can,
Nah, we always appreciate you coming through, man. Definitely, bruv. Definitely, man. That was deep, boy. Yet another one with our brother Vinny B from the Bronx, mother lovers. Let's get some fire emojis, some foghorns, leghorns, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Trumpets, whatever, man. Some noise up there in the uncommon senses world. Because, boy, Vinny just laid it out there for us, man. Very interesting, bruv.
I hope you and your audience enjoy and it's entertaining.
Definitely, man. I did, man. It's good to catch up, bruv, as well. Like, we got to talk about some future stuff, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely,
I'll keep you posted with the Eric Dollard thing.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting, man. Big shout out to Bro
focus
Sanchez.
on that. Make sure that I get this really big and good. And like I said, get other scientists too. I'll probably be able to get more than just Dollard. So I really want to do that, make something really big with Bro Sanchez on that.
Yeah, man.
That's probably what I'll be focusing on for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Definitely, man. So I think it's a very good platform to do it on as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Vinny B ain't playing around, mother lovers.
I'll try to get maybe Bro Sanchez. I'll bring him here one day. To come
that'll be cool, man. Yeah, definitely.
He said he'll do what he said. Anything you say, Vinny, you tell me, I'll come. So
yeah.
You're like my Stiggy show. Let's go.
Yeah, through, man. He can definitely tell us something we might not never know nothing about. That's for sure, bro. Definitely, man. Wicked Vinny, man. All right, so people can hit you up. Vinny B D A. No. Vinny D B A Truth at gmail.com. We put it in the comment section right there.
And I seen you put up the YouTube channel. And again, have you guys ever seen me once promote it anywhere? Never on Killah Priest. Not on the show with Bro Sanchez.
Yeah. You should though, Vinny, man, and once you start getting all your material up, I think you should.
Well, it's not even that. I've been thrown off so many times. I know how it goes, but
you gotta be persistent, man.
I was off of YouTube for probably 3-4 years. I gave up. I just stopped doing my, trying to make a new one. And then when COVID started, I came back, and that's how I hooked up. And it was basically everybody was like, "You need to do a channel," and I'm just like, I don't even care because it just gets messed with all the time. The first day I made that channel, I put 15 videos of like archaeologists and things I've done. YouTube removed 8 of them, suspended me for a week. I came back a week later. I posted one video. They suspended me, gave me a second strike. So, that's why I don't think the channel's ever going to get to be big. And if it does, they're just going to suspend it. So I don't really promote it a lot, but if people want to go there, I have been just randomly just trying to put things up for my friends and people that ask. I think I sent you the one with the red gym, right? And the Arctic Monkey song, "Snap Out of It," Black Jesus clips and stuff. I'm trying to make shorter videos. I want to make short, like funny, short videos with powerful images. So that's basically probably all I'll do with that channel a lot is just randomly put some stuff out there. But at least you all could find my email and some stuff there for now.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And I appreciate that.
Love, man. Thank you for coming through, brother, man. Always appreciated.
Thanks, Vinny.
Always appreciated.
It's great hanging with you guys.
Likewise, man. Likewise, man, for sure.
It just feels like at home,
Yeah.
Good. But with slightly different accents.
Yeah,
for real.
But you are so nice, it's just, you're very great to your guest, so.
No,
I appreciate it.
Cheers.
I don't know, maybe it's because I came from that rough scene with Killah Priest and all them, but.
I mean, you definitely you put in a lot of work, man. So I think it's well deserved.
They don't know what they're missing.
You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they do for sure.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of them things, man, where like I was saying, I think it's a case of just sort of leading by example, showing respect, like in front and behind the camera. Do you know what I mean? Like in front of and behind the curtain. Like it isn't always about just trying to present things in a certain way, but then there's all this kerfuffle going on in the background because then it spills into it spills onto the stage. And that's what happened there. And the sad thing about it was that, I feel like, say it was like split into two parties. Only one party really got their whole explanation of what happened and why that happened. So I think it's important that you got to do that, and appreciate you doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like being so open about it with us as well, man. I think a lot of the chat room would definitely appreciating all the stuff you were dropping as well for us, as always, man. So that's
I don't get to see. I just see you and Dan when I do when I do shows with anyone. I don't ever get to see. You
got a lot of love, man.
Thank you to anyone out there for the support, and I'll try to catch the stuff or ask someone who's seen it.
For sure. Yeah, man, that's right, mother lovers. Happy New Year. Happy mother lover New Year. I forgot, man. I was going to get my fireworks. I had some... I was going to bring some fireworks. Just pop them off in here. You know what I mean? But that probably wouldn't have been a good idea. That wouldn't have been a good idea at all. Yeah, man. Vinny, man, thank you for coming through, brother. I'm going to hit you up.
Next time maybe we'll do something with the Clint Richardson law stuff.
That's a good idea.
That's another one I think you and your audience will really like.
Yeah, I really, with Clint as well, I'd like to touch on a lot of the word magic stuff as well. You know, like he was really good at sort of bringing up the real meaning of certain words that we might, exchange.
Like God. Like the original meaning of God was nature.
Yeah. A lot of that. So let's sort that out, man. We'll do that in the next coming weeks for sure. Yeah, that'll be fun. I love that shit, boy.
And me and Clint, we're working on a business thing, like I was telling you a little bit about. A legal thing to kind of teach people how to get around the system, how to have your own weed clubs, to have your own, it's basically about, I can't give away too much, but it's basically teaching people how to have private clubs and stop being public when you're in their jurisdiction. We would be able to teach you and do the legal work to keep you out of their jurisdiction and keep you private to where you have a private club, to where we could do what we want with a private club. You get it?
Yeah.
It's actually pretty big and powerful, and a great conversation one day.
There's a lot of paperwork behind it as well, right? Like it's not just something you can just try and pull off. Like I think a lot of people have tried to do it here.
We got to make Clint do all that.
Yeah.
Clint do all the paperwork for us.
Yeah. It's true, boy. Yeah, he's definitely he's the right guy to go for that sort of. If you need that information in front of you on paper, I think he'd be the right guy to go to for sure. So
man, I got to set that up too.
You're not playing around, boy. You're not playing around, bruv.
I just try to stay busy, just like you guys,
Yeah, for sure.
And thank you for all the work you and Dan do. Thank you, for doing a great show every week, getting truth out there, helping people hear things they never heard before.
Yeah, do what we can. We try, man. Love for that, brother. Yeah. Bless, man. That's Vinny B right there, bitches and bitchettes. No discrimination, you know what I mean? That's right, mother lovers, man. Of course, we always appreciate each and every one of you. Before we go, we got to give a shout out to the Connoisseurs UK. Make sure you hit them up for your CBD products. Whether you like chocolates, whether you need some kind of pastes or oils to sort out your skin, sort out your joints, whatever it is, man. They got sprays as well to help you with different things. Like, sometimes you might feel like you're not getting enough sleep. Bam, hit off the sprays. After a couple days, bam, your sleep patterns just switch up. Now you're getting that 8 hours you're supposed to get. Work is nothing. That chick that you're always thinking about, that's at the other end of the office. Now you're thinking, right, I might have to actually move to her. Do you know what I mean? There's like levels that you go up as you're getting on these things. Then you've got things like the chocolate stirrers, which I never forget to talk about, because I was amazed at how all I had to do was add water, and this levels. It's like when you first ever had a pot noodle You know what I mean? You know when you were young and you first ever had a pot, you're like, rah, that's amazing that can happen. Now I've grown up, I know pot noodles are a whole load of shit. This is not. This will help you, especially when it's that late night thing when you're like, rah, I could do with a couple before I go sleep. The chocolate stirrers, bam, fling it in the hot water, stir it around, turns into a hot chocolate, beautiful. And because it's got that potent CBD in there, man, you're getting a good night's sleep. The amount of benefits that CBD products can give you is out there in abundance. So if you ever want to find out, please do your own research, do your due diligence. Don't, just listen to me or anybody else. But it can help with things, and this is all proven, by the way, things like pain, obviously, like I've been saying. Joints, you know what I mean? Even if you get bruises. When I was training, notice I'm getting bruises on my arms or whatever, you're getting kicks on your thighs, and bam, put some CBD on there. Next day, you're back out there, boy, taking it again, giving it, though, more. So it can obviously help with things like pain. It's known to help with things like epilepsy, arthritis, anxiety, depression, sleeping disorders, acne as well. You know what I mean? If you're going in on the cheese, you lot might be going in on the dairy and that. That's probably causing the acne. CBD, I'm not saying that the CBD is the only thing, but it might help out. Do you know what I mean? Parkinson's disease, nausea and vomiting. There's a whole lot of other conditions that CBD can help with. And, we try our best to help the people that we know are providing the quality products. Do you know what I mean? And they've been kind enough to give us codes as well, where you can get yourself a certain % off any order. So if you go to cannacersuk.com, this is one place where you can get yourself 20% off by typing in at the checkout, SYMNNKNA. That's right. That's the acronym right there, SYMNNKNA. And you'll get yourself 20% off any order from cannacersuk.com, mother lovers. So make sure you go there. And that's it. We got to give a shout out to all the chat room crew, all the Uncommon Senses. Thank you for coming through, man. As always, man, we appreciate you coming through, listening to the guests that we have on. You know what I mean? I think it's important for people to just get themselves out of that matrix and just thinking more openly. Whether you agree or not, there are things that you might be able to take away, little gems you might be able to take away and do a bit more research on and find your own truths, do you know what I mean, that you can share with people. But we can't stop talking, man, regardless. That's not what it's about. When they had Speaker's Corner, that's what it was about, man. Anyone speak their truth, everyone listen. Then you get your turn. This is what we're trying to do here. So big up Mr. Green, big up your more. Shout out to King Chico, Liz Williams, Black Einstein, Les Allison, all the crew that were locked in, man. We appreciate each and every one of you, especially the Uncommon Senses. Do you know what I mean? I know there's silent listeners out there. We appreciate you lot as well, but the Uncommon Senses help us because we learn from them. Big up. I said Cheesy. I said Liz Williams already, innit? And who else? I was going to shout out. There was someone else that I bumped into. They were talking about the podcast. I can't remember who it is now. But yeah, there are people, silent listeners, that have started digging into the old, the archives and that. And then it's like fun because you're finding out people are sort of waking up to a whole different world that now they're like, oh, I thought you were crazy, but now I get what you mean. Bruv, it took you nearly 3 years, but all right, you're here with us. Big up IBMCs. And when I say here with us, I mean they don't necessarily believe in everything that, you might be presented to them, but they're more open to understanding that these are possibilities. And whether they can be confirmed or not, they're possibilities, so don't put any, emotion into it. Just more understanding. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a very important thing for us. Big up Gleam. I see you, mother lover. Yep. Yeah, I think that's a very important thing for all of us, man. Turbo Tubalicious, love. Big up Regantology. Man, Robbie Love came through a bit late. Shout out to the unknown user as well. That's interesting, man. A lot of people coming through a bit later. It's a school night, though, so you know how we do, man. Yo, D, as always, man, appreciate you on the boards. Holding things down, you know, making sure things run smoothly. Yes, love to all the crew, man. We should be back next week with some more that we got in store. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, I think next week should be a fun one. Happy New Year to everyone who celebrates it at the time that they're supposed to. You know what I mean? Because your government do. I'll tell you that right now. What is it, a week and a bit or a few days? It's going to be April. You know what I mean?
Beginning of the government year.
Yeah, beginning of the government year. So you better get with it. Yeah, I ain't lying. Yes, man. Love to all the crew, man. My name is My Stiggy. That's Dan DNA. And you know what we're about. Love to Vinny B. There's some shit you might not never know nothing about. And we're out, bitches and bitchettes.